Charlie is
We were
losing
muted
his
the whole
shit.
time as well, so nobody knows why I was holding my pants or anything. This is going great. I got wet.
Muted.
Everybody's loony. I got injured. It rained here. I had to bike here. Let's just go ahead and do D&D, guys.
Yeah, let's do our best.
I'm glad very few people are watching at the moment. I'll edit it out just to start there for the YouTube VOD, so they're gonna have no context.
No,
as to
no,
what
you
was
cannot.
happening.
This is peak comedy.
Sean's dancing, just silent. Is it gonna be
Andrew holding up his pants with Sean making bemused faces.
Oh
How's it
God.
even possible to have exactly one viewer? Like,
This is the least
doesn't make sense.
professional stream we've done, which I'm actually kind of proud of. We've got 7 sessions with being fairly professional throughout. This is what
I
we're
would
doing.
say that you and I also did 30-something podcasts, none of which were this unprofessional.
No, this is
One of them I was
pretty
muted at the
unprofessional.
start.
Okay, do we want to get started? Do we want to play D&D?
Yes, let's play some D&D, guys.
If I
Go
could
either
take
way.
down another
Unless-
loopy.
I would.
I mean,
Unless anyone else
did
has
get
some
paid.
pants they want to show off.
So, I mean, I
Not
have
within
10-day
hand's reach.
pants. That makes sense to some of you.
somebody followed us during that rambling butte.
Welcome. Yeah, but was it one of those bots for the how they
Doesn't
said-
matter. Bots don't matter. The number counts. The number counts. I did advertise on Facebook for the first time since session 1.
It looks like a real
This
account.
is-
I don't know.
This is the session my boyfriend is going to watch, so that's a great start.
Oh
Great,
boy.
Well, now we have 5 viewers.
Yay.
We did
Yeah.
it.
Excellent. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the 7th session of the Imris Saga. We're gonna kind of just we're not gonna dive straight into it because we've already been talking forever, but we're gonna get started. Last we left off, you guys had rejoined each other. Alveron, we opened with Alveron and Kala, and Alveron's kind of past coming up to them. And there was a pirate duel, which Alveron nearly lost. Kala kind of had to save his butt there in the end. Although they both were really low on HP. It was like both of you were in the 1s range by the time you escaped. The others had a much more peaceful exit. For the most part, you learned some information from Paladin. Sulveran seemed to talk to them and became very upset about something that they said. It wasn't really made clear. So there was a bit of a rocky leaving there. Although your parting with Iracondus, the Shimmering Scholar, was smooth, and you left with a bunch of magic items in tow. You traveled down to Porsen, where you met Alveron and Kella and kind of caught each other up, decided what to do next. You all kind of came to the agreement that going to Tal'Anfagon was the best course available to you at the moment to seek out Melfindian, a adventurer of some repute, very elderly, retired Elcar. And you hired a carriage to take you guys down the way to get there. Figure out a way to do a split screen with like the map and the character or something. But oh, and there was some stuff with Will and their ex-fiance. Some sending.
I don't think
Yeah.
there's evidence that existed.
Yeah, Will
I don't
is,
think that happened.
Will is drunk.
Drunk sending.
Yeah. You don't give level 3 spells to a drunk, like, in that moment. Will is not a drunk. You really got to move away from this trope of Will being a drunk.
Okay. So, you guys are informed. You've just we need to work out the. Well, I guess not, because Kala was paying for it. I think you guys had said rent a carriage. Did you want to drive it, or did you want a driver?
Would Medea know how to drive a carriage? Or a carriage?
Certainly any of you could drive a carriage. However, I don't think any of you have vehicles land, which would be the skill check if you needed to make a skill check. But it would probably be depending on what you were doing, like Dex or Wisdom. If it's like more related to the animal itself. But Cal's happy to just buy a carriage. Well, and some animals.
Yeah. And Will's always happy to try and do anything. So
before you leave as well, can I ask if Kala can bring 25 gold so I can grab some powdered silver? It's for protection from evil and good.
Look at her coin first. She does actually have a fixed amount of coin.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm not just
she's
making
not
this
a
up as I
bottomless
go.
pit
Yeah.
of money.
Says, if you think it'll be useful, I can certainly offer that up. Between that and the carriage, I have almost no money left.
I think if we were to get into a combat again, it would certainly be useful.
No,
Extremely useful.
You're certainly right. Very well. I will offer up.
I should ask about your ruling on the spell here as well. So the spell doesn't have a listed cost for the components, but it does call for components to be consumed. Does that mean I need to pay for those components every single time I use it?
Think about protection from evil and good.
Yes, because it doesn't list how much of the components you consume, just that some is consumed, and it doesn't list a cost.
Yes, so I'm going to assume that the cost of the powder and iron, powdered silver and iron, is equivalent to one quote-unquote holy water, like a consumable holy water.
Mm-hmm.
And that is consumed, so you would have to buy more or make more, as the case may be.
Okay. Yeah.
Holy water is expensive.
Yeah, it's not particularly cheap. It's 25 gold.
The Kel is out of money, and I didn't get paid.
Protection from
Is
good
what
and
I'm
evil
hearing
is
as Jack.
Good.
Say that Uba has a complete ass load of money. I don't think they would offer to pay for things, but if you ask, they might reluctantly hand it over.
No, Will is happy to be destitute in front of theoretically her employer that didn't pay her for the last job that she's done. I feel like it's a fun leverage.
Well, she
point
offered
for
to
Will.
pay you. You just didn't. take it at
She
the time.
didn't make it clear.
Sulveran is also destitute, but he's
If you bring it
he's
up,
not
she's
having
happy
wants
to
do
pay
that.
you instead of buying the powdered silver.
I
Yeah.
want to bring it up after the powdered silver gets bought. No.
God damn it, Jack.
When we have
Well,
the carriage,
I could not buy the carriage and then pay you. We could return it.
what's the return policy like on the carriage? Will is interested in returning. Like, how much did that depreciate the moment that he drove it off?
Drugs. I'm sure that I could reason with the man. We haven't even touched it, really.
Will shrugs, and it's fine.
If you truly need it, I could always rob the man. Be something I hadn't done before. Though I
if I
would
need it,
prefer
I could
not
do
to.
some kind of. I could do something to the man to get the money. It's like, anyway. I guess Will looks at the. So I am clear as Jack. Our plan is that the two people that we are hiding from the pirates are the two people that are hidden from sight.
Yes, in the carriage, pretending to be nobility.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Or
I'll ask the
important
others. Does anyone know how to drive a carriage?
Uba shakes their head no.
There are many trails in the mountains, the highest peaks, fit for driving carriages through. But there aren't.
Yeah, I think Will waits for Sulveran to think that Will didn't get it. It's like, that's understandable. I guess I think I understand the basic concept. Like gestures, sometimes range, probably.
Can you mute? I don't think she heard me. Keep going. Sorry.
Sarah.
Sarah.
You're so loud.
Nate, it's just really coming through really loud back there.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess will offer to drive it if nobody else seems to immediately have the skill set.
Nobody in the party is particularly apt, other than you are the most apt, I would say.
Have you ever driven horses before?
No, but I'm good at picking stuff up. It's fine. It'll be all right. Like, seems flippant in her ability to pick up basically anything on a mundane level. But she will change into her nice clothes, so she looks a little bit like she could pass as a like valet for these people. Like, she's the one that theoretically paying the guards and stuff, so they don't have to interact with the riffraff. She looks at her fancy hat versus her normal hat, and she doesn't put on her fancy hat.
No.
Why not?
Well, her fancy hat is a specific hat, and her normal hat is just like to keep her hair out of her eyes.
Wait, I had an idea. Andrew, could
Yes.
I turn my steed into a warhorse and have them drive the caravan since I can telepathically talk to it as well? I'll pitch this to the rest of the party as well.
I mean, you could. I imagine it doesn't say in carriage. The carriage. I feel like this is 2 horse deal.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly one of them. You bought 2 horses. So what are you going to do with the other horse at that point?
Okay. Yeah.
But certainly you could do that. That's possible.
Yeah, I didn't know we finalized the buying horses at this point.
Well,
We just said Kala, and Kala did it.
Yeah, when you said you buy the carriage, I was like, okay, Kala goes and buys a carriage. The things necessary to move it.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I mean, somebody could always ride one of the horses. Like, if your system will work to make it far easier for you to drive the carriage, will ride a horse.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I could my horse to a horse as well.
I missed that. Can you say again?
Would the warhorse from Fine Steed be able to communicate with another horse?
Do horses speak horse?
No, I mean, yes and no. Not like physical speech, but they might, be able to cue the other horse in on things. I mean, these are also trained horses; like they know what to do.
Also, if it
like
really,
the reins and stuff.
If it really comes down to it, I can talk to a horse. They're not that difficult to talk to.
I would say if you had, let's break this down mechanically, because you're asking, I think, what is ultimately a mechanics question. If you had your summoned steed and you needed to make a land vehicle's land check on the carriage, I would probably give you advantage, but there would be no other benefit. And it also depends. There are certain situations where being able to talk to the horse isn't necessarily a benefit to the thing, because the horse is still not the driver. If that makes sense.
I'll communicate what I understand well, to the degree of if we were in a situation where there is a need to do tricky driving, or not tricky, or tricky driving or something, where we needed to get the horses through a place they might not want to go, video would have benefits to that.
You drive. I'll ride the extra horse, I suppose.
Okay.
That's probably easy.
Makes sense. Okay. You guys do some quick switchings of the bardings.
Mhm.
There's now a draft horse and a war horse that look very mismatched on this carriage.
Surely you could
Yeah.
turn your fine steed into a draft horse to like make it equivalent.
The war horse is just better.
Yeah, no, there's no reason to not keep it as a war horse.
That's why my entry into the three-legged race is Sulveran and Uber, like because size difference isn't relevant to automation.
Well, I don't think with
Both
horse.
medium creatures.
No, a war horse is large.
Yeah, war horse is large.
No,
Sure.
sorry, Uba and I.
Oh, I'm
Uber's
small.
small.
I'm
Uber's
small.
Ooh,
I'm
that's
only
cool.
2.5 feet tall.
Oh, small kobold.
Which is short even for a kobold.
Alright, yeah, I'll ride the
So-
horse. The deal will drive.
Having doing some horsey switcheroos, you guys get going. Kala will. How long does that last? Never mind. You will wait. I was gonna say disguise self to make them look fancy, but they'll wait until that actually becomes relevant to use the spell. Last for now.
I will will do we have a saddle for this draft horse?
No. You,
Will-
I will say, you can use Medea's saddle since the war horse is now attached to the carriage and doesn't need a saddle.
I can take the spectral saddle off the. Okay, cool.
Well, Medea had a saddle, I think. I guess maybe gave it to Paladin. We will ignore that.
All right.
Are Sulveran
Will-
and I walking?
That's my understanding. You could probably hop on the carriage. Uba certainly could hop on the carriage next to Will.
If
Well, Medea's
Sulveran can hop on the horse as well, because a war horse could fit two medium creatures, right?
Probably not the two of you.
I think
Both
unless we
in
intend to be
armor?
quick, Sulveran will just not.
Because you both weigh, I would say, Medea has to weigh at least 120. At least. Plus
Yeah.
you have 150 worth of gear. We're getting to the math now. So it's 270. Loren's got 129.
Well, it would be Will and
400.
Sulveran. Yeah.
And there's no
On a
way that
drop-off?
Sulveran weighs 140.
No, and
That is
I-
simply impossible.
Sulveran is not going to choose to ride a horse unless, in fact, as this whole discussion is going on, Sulveran is looking at Uba, looking at these horses, and then just kind of trotting alongside, like making it very deliberate. Unless y'all intend to go at a fast pace.
I think Uba's gonna be like clinging to the carriage, but in a position that's like as far away from the horses as possible, because I don't think they'd be able to keep up with a moving carriage for long.
You could sit on the roof, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's space. Like I said,
Yeah,
there's
Uba's
space
on the
next
roof.
to Will in the driver's seat.
Medea's driving.
Oh, okay. Well, there's
Right,
space next
but-
to Medea in the driver's.
Yeah.
I'll say that
And Will
Uba's
is-
on the roof and is having the same energy as like a dog sticking their head out the window. That's Uba
Okay.
right now.
Excellent.
Will is, despite knowing that it probably is the least safe way to ride for her, is riding side saddle and playing on her fiddle to look the most like just a traveling noble's servant.
Okay.
Sulveran will join Medea in that
You
case.
know, as opposed to the rest of our carriage, which has one draft horse and one spectral war horse,
War.
which will draw zero attention. We're going to draw so much attention.
Okay. All right. You guys take off. The horses begin to. I mean, you're not like going in a full sprint. You're trotting down as horses are wont to do. It's the easiest way to travel. It takes you about with the horses. You probably get to Waithcross fairly late since you spent a lot of the morning, like getting the carriage and whatnot. Let me also go ahead and move you guys. At least the stream. Wheatcross is a pretty small town. You guys kind of just stop there for the night, rest in. There's actually quite a few inns here, despite its size, just because it's on such a big trade route. But you just pick one of them and have a quick rest. Not really much time for partying, as you guys are, or drinking or talking of any sort, since you guys are kind of sleeping and then getting up and leaving. Since you opted for kind of the speedy approach to avoiding anybody following you. You continue on the next day, getting up quite early, crossing the river, heading on your way to Lamadon. With your carriage and everything, you probably arrive at Lamadon late afternoon, early evening. So you could push on and just camp somewhere else, on the road if you wanted to. Most travelers wouldn't do that, just because it's not necessarily worth sleeping outdoors to gain maybe a couple hours, but it might be worth it for you guys.
We're trying to stay ahead if somebody's following us. I think we may as well just push on.
I'll secure a shelter when it becomes time for it.
Uba, I don't know if this would actually be helpful right now, but since we're leaving a big city, can Uba use Pass Without a Trace? Would that help us to not be tracked?
Well, it would, but it only lasts an hour, so it won't go the whole drop. If you guys want to, you could attempt to sneak out of each town, just so people aren't aware of your coming and goings. In which case, Pass Without a Trace would help with that. And I will let you guys retroactively say you do that if you want to.
Particularly for the big town, it's not a bad idea.
I think that would be smart, yeah.
Okay, so we're trying to sneak out of the, you said Lamadon?
Yeah,
Is that where we are?
Right over here. Okay.
Okay.
Since you're doing like the carriages and stuff, I'm just gonna have Uba roll a stealth check with +10 from Pass Without a Trace. I don't think this is going to really apply a lot of individual stealth here. So it's actually 6. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you get up early enough that it's still a little bit dark. You try to avoid, the busy gate. Go a less used route, casting Pass Without a Trace to hopefully just sneak on by. And it doesn't seem like anybody is aware of you're leaving the town. Exit it. Okay. At some point on the Lamadon Porcine route, this is a fairly busy travel route. You are passing by people here and there, mostly just other travelers, merchants, kind of thing. A lot of humans, but also Elcar and dwarves, kind of either mostly going to Karad or to Tal'Anfagon on some journey there and back. You do, however, hear some chatter on the road, just because people are moving at pace with you at times. You're kind of a little bit neck and neck. Much like cars on the highway, you might spend a half hour or more near the same group of people, but you're moving slow enough that you can kind of hear conversation around them. I just double check passives.
Will is intentionally
I think it's
listening.
Alveron is the best. Okay, Will's why don't you give me a check then? You're actively
I'm-
listening.
Refreshing Foundry. Will you trust me if I roll a d20 in reality?
Yes, I will trust you.
Haha, you fool! I dropped it. Okay, I have to pick it up. This is slower. Oh no!
A
I
natural.
think my internet dropped for just a second, so that might have been what it was. I also saw the bit rate
That
on the
makes
stream
sense.
dropped.
If I remember my perception modifier as +1, which I think is correct, then that's an 18.
You have a +3 perception.
+3.
You
It's
have
a
it
20.
as a skill.
Oh yeah.
Okay, 20. You do start to hear chatter as you're listening out for rumors and bits of information. You do hear most appropriate things here. Okay. Okay, you do hear some about Tal'Anfagon. Supposedly, there's a bit of a drug problem in the city. Some from various different places. These gangs have been dealing a form of drug called Atias. And it's kind of starting to become a little bit of a problem. You maybe even have heard of this once or twice before in your sailing background, although it was just like, oh, have you ever heard of this sort of thing? Or supposedly this is like a lucrative trade. But it's starting to become more than just like oh, hey, this is a thing that you can buy, and it's starting to become a bit of a nuisance to the city. You also hear more on the sort of adventurous side that there are some people in Tal'Anfagon who have been looking for groups of adventurers for some kind of hush-hush reason. Like, it's the sort of thing where they're not giving out any details to the job until you kind of show up and accept it. But supposedly they're paying a lot of money for it. In gold and money, even money up front as well, which is fairly unusual in adventuring line of work. More close to home, you do hear that a couple of people have been talking about you would know of these things, Will, just from stories and different kinds of things. I will just give that to you. Sometimes they're basically called different things. Jack might remember sky cities, sky castles, skylands. Basically, just bits of floating land masses that travel through the sky. They come from various different things. You know, really powerful wizards. Sometimes. Jinn, and can be known to have made these. Most of them are very ancient, like nobody alive really understands the mechanisms or magic behind these things anymore. But they do still exist, and they will sometimes pass low enough and close enough to the ground to be visible. And so supposedly one has been seen somewhat recently, kind of in the northern part of Southren, heading to the desert. And some people think it might fly over Tal'Anfagon in the next couple months. It's kind of just like, it's almost like a meteor shower or something like that. Like, people are excited to see it, sort of thing, and they're kind of talking about it for that reason. Other than that, just like the usual sort of some gripe about, like, trade isn't as good. Such and such place didn't have good crops this year. The last rumor that you particularly care about or find interesting is that supposedly in the city of Vacant, the Grand Duke had to oust a number of noble families who were found out to be demon worshippers. So people have been talking about that for some time. And this seems to have been actually happened a couple months ago. It just wasn't news in Karad or the boat at the time. It seems to have more recently caught up to the sort of trade circles that you are now traveling along.
So just to cover the important stuff that Will picks up, there's a drug problem in Tal'Anfagon with a drug called
Atias. Atias. Atias.
All right. I think Sean wins points for closest to get that right. Then somebody has been looking for adventurers, but they're being very hush-hush about it. There's Sky Cities. That one is currently in Southwind that might cross over to Tal'Anfagon. And the Duke of Vicant kicked out a number of noble families for demon worship.
Kicked out would be generous. More like tried and arrested. And also confiscated their land.
Duke of Vicant legally dealt with. With a number of noble families. Okay. We'll kind of just files all of this away, and we'll, next time we have the luxury of resting and actually talking, we'll mention some of these things, but I'll do that in character.
Okay. Other than that, the journey is mostly uneventful to Porsan. You do have to stop midway through. There's nothing on the map, but there are taverns just along this route, like just freestanding taverns, which is not necessarily uncommon on big trade routes, because people leave at different times of day and stuff like that. You might not make it to the next town in time. But eventually you arrive in Porsan, which is about co-equal in size to Forum. So it's a large walled town, almost a city, but not quite, on Lake Sulsum. It is known in particular for producing a lot of alchemical goods, if that's something any of you were ever interested in.
Didn't Will say they wanted to visit?
Go ahead.
Did Will say they wanted to visit Sulsum Temple?
A couple
It's
people.
on the other side of the lake. Though.
Yeah,
We
you'll
have
get
to go
there
through there anyway.
Okay.
probably tomorrow. You will. That's the other thing. What are you guys going to do with the carriage at this point? Now that you've kind of reached the end of where it can take you, unless you want to go around the lake by land.
Ella and I can try and sell the carriage while you secure us passage across the lake to Sulsum Temple.
Okay.
Right, let's do that then. Will just begins to walk off with Cullen and the carriage, presumably.
Okay. You guys leave the others as you look at everybody disembarks. Everyone else probably begins to go look for an inn. There's like I said, this is a nicer town. There's a few in town. As you're just looking about, they're kind of in very different areas. Close to the lake docks, there's the Fool and Cask Inn, which is kind of, cheap on the cheaper side. It looks kind of reminiscent to you of the Rusty Anchor that you had stayed at previously. But you do also see, as you pass by, a couple more nicer. There's nothing truly opulent in this town, but the Sapphire Pipe does look quite nice. Lots of very fine furniture, stained glass windows, kind of thing. Definitely more on the up and up.
I definitely gravitate towards the seedy sailor bar because I failed that wisdom save, or I failed that wisdom check.
Let's go here, guys.
Oh yeah.
There's also the Scoundrel and Goblet, which is a little bit more in between. It's kind of in the center of town. It looks to be the sort of place where, it's like, it's an inn, travelers stay here, but it's also like the local bar. This is where locals drink.
Hmm.
Alveron, however, is like, this place has a dock. Let's go to the Dockside Tavern.
Oh yeah.
You guys make your way over there. Meanwhile, why don't you go ahead and make me an investigation check?
Help Carla make an investigation check?
Sure, that's fine. Oh yeah, she's...
Because I'm pretty sure Carla's better than Will's +7.
Yeah, 23. All right. Kala very quickly, just starts to lead you along, and the two of you locate a Wainwright who probably in the process of making a carriage. You can see he's got like some big wood blocks, timbers, 2x4s that he's kind of like piecing together, following this kind of diagram that he seems to have drawn. The two of you approach, and Kala will kind of say, excuse me, sir. This man who you now see to be a gnome, he's quite burly, you almost mistake him for a dwarf, says, "Oh, yes, what can I do for you?"
We're looking to sell a carriage that we bought recently. And Will gestures to said carriage, which I assume you just brought with us.
Oh. There's something wrong
And
with
the
it?
2 horses.
And the horses. But
we were planning on traveling all the way to Twinport, but our master, Will gestures into the ether of like not here, got a message and was required to divert to Tal'Anfagon, and as nice as our carriage is, it's not exactly seaworthy.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how worthy it is. Let's take a look. Kind of like goes over, takes a look at it. Shoddy craftsmanship. He kind of kicks it. Ow! Rubs his foot slightly. This thing, it's terrible. I suppose I could take it off your hands. Looks over it, looks at the two of you, wondering how much can I take these people for a ride. Well, the carriage I could give you probably 40 gold for. 2 horses, draft horses. We'll say 25 each. Not gonna find.
I'm going to assume that
I will tell you.
I could have asked Kala how much, right?
Yeah, she paid 100 for the carriage and 50 for each horse.
Will says, "Well, it's strange that the price has dropped by such a significant percentage since we paid 200 for it in Forum, and the horses are from good draft stock breeding. But I'm sure we can sell it to some merchant that's traveling along the road. Just means they won't buy a carriage from you."
Make this could be either. I think
I'd really like it to be
deception.
persuasion. I will one day roll this persuasion expertise. Deception.
If you had just been like, "Oh, we paid 100 for it," we'll
Yes,
want
I
this,
know.
that would be. But you did lie in there.
made the
which
choice
is
to
why
lie.
I think it's more of deception. Kala will
Is Kala
assist
a-
you.
Okay,
Yeah, although you're better at it, she'll say. Oh yes, this was made by a master carriage maker. We actually had a couple dwarves supposedly come from Karat all the way to Forum just to help out with the finishings. And looks at the two of
Our
you.
master likes
looks
what
at
our
the
master
carriage.
likes. 26.
Well, I think that you got ripped off a little bit. About it. I really couldn't sell it here for more than 100, so I couldn't possibly pay more than 75 for it. You might have better luck elsewhere with the horses. I could maybe give you 30. 45. No, Sorry, 35. I mean, at most.
I already forgot how much you said the horses went for.
He originally said 25, so he's gone up 10 on that.
No, like how much did Calla
50.
buy the horses for? Because horses don't depreciate in value; they're still horses.
Correct.
I think we'll look at Calla and say, I think our master will be happy with 75 for the carriage, but perhaps we can sell the horses elsewhere.
Yes, these were very excellent. I looked at their lineages and everything. You sure you couldn't be persuaded to maybe part with them or to give us 45 for them? Surely you could get at least 70. We paid 75 for them. She will make a... actually, she would like to assist you in a persuasion check if you can back her up somehow.
Yeah,
Since
I
you
think
are better at it.
Will nods and says, yes, and unlike the carriage, horses are valuable everywhere, right? And as you said, we could sell them to somebody else, but you could also sell them to somebody else. So I have advantage.
Yes, make the tag team.
29.
Jeez, okay, he says.
I did it. I rolled my expertise in persuasion one time.
You two lasses drive a hard bargain. Fine. All right. 45 for each horse. 75 for the carriage.
Will, despite being dressed in fancy clothes, like spits in her hand and goes to shake his.
No, he would actually be like, no, I like the cut of your jib. Give you a good handshake back. You come away feeling like you got the worst end of that. His hawk was a little bit grosser than yours.
Also, Will, despite doing the correct type of handshake, has no power in her hand to do that. Like, it's just like a very average handshake.
You're like just...
Will takes the money, counts out like 40 gold, and says, I'll give you a discount for the last job, and takes 40.
He shrugs. I suppose I'll be needing the rest of this to pay for passage.
All right. After hearing that, Will is sufficiently swayed by Calla and takes only 30.
Yes. Auto succeed on the persuasion check. All right. The two of you leave having not lost actually too much money on that deal. 30-something gold in total, which isn't bad. You probably would have paid it as much.
All of our haggling.
You would have paid at least as much to rent a carriage that way. So once you've finished, you begin looking for the others.
I will just cast sending to who's the funniest person to cast sending to? Uber, I guess.
Probably
To just appear in Uber's brain.
Yeah, I don't think Uba would know much about sending, so they'd probably be surprised.
I think as you go to cast sending, I want to jump over to them just to see what they've been doing. See, the three of you arrive at the three of you arrive at the Fool and Cask Inn to an already rambunctious crowd, even though it is, mid-afternoon, late afternoon, barely past lunchtime, really. But you enter to the sounds of ha 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 laughter. Somebody seems to be telling a story in on stage would be generous, a slight platform that's kind of in the center of the tavern, where you see a person kind of doing a bit of a stand-up routine. They're kind of just making fun of people in the audience. You see this younger human kind of dressed not that dissimilar to Alveron. He's kind of wearing sailor's garb, just calling different people out. He's like, oh, hey, you over there, you look like you've been here since last week. How much have you had to drink? You're all red in the nose. People are like, he's like, what? And it goes on for a little bit. A bartender comes over to you. Yes, it's an Elcar woman. She kind of looks over to you. She says, "Oh, hello today. My name is Alwyn. I'll be your server. What can I get for you?" Perhaps the young sailor would like a bit of ale.
Just a short ale for me. We won't be staying long, perhaps. Fine dude on stage.
Do you have anything dead?
Kind of pauses for a moment. What's your? Do you have intimidation? No, but your charisma is like yeah. Okay.
Awful.
Make me a charisma saving throw.
Okay.
This is the best way I can think to do it. Okay. She's surprisingly not that off-put by your phrasing. She says, oh, well, we actually have a brace of conies that I could serve up for you. I believe somebody caught them just this morning.
Medea just silently nods while, like, the mask over their face just, like, affixes it unmoving. Bring them.
I'll get that right for you, dear. And glances at the kobold. What would you like? We have eggs. Is that something kobolds eat?
Uva is thinking, and then they politely request for the largest amount of venison that they can order.
Oh, well, we do have some very nice aged venison in the back. It's going to be 5 gold for the rest that we have.
Uba thinks about it for a second, and then, because they're feeling a little flashy, just like dramatically drops their coin purse on the table and pulls out 5 gold. And they also ask for like a bowl of ale, since they have trouble drinking from normal glasses.
Okay, sure. We can accommodate for that. And she will like pip off to go and get you all of your various things. Oh wait, Sulveran. She stops at Sulveran. There are 4 people in this party.
Well, Sulveran is just shaking his head as she looks over at him.
Your 2 friends have taken most of the meat. We do have some pork. It's a little old.
He is going to just reach into his pack and like set a tightly back, wrapped ration on the table. This will do. Thank you.
Do not. Okay. Medea, your brace of conies is 2 gold and 5 silver.
I know what you mean by conies, but also I'm like.
Oh, is there another? Am I not aware?
Yeah, it's like a coney, like a dog, like a hot dog.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, like a Coney Island hot dog, Charlie.
Right. Yes, I am aware of that, actually. I am thinking of rabbits.
Yeah.
Right. So all of you are eating as eventually this bard gets around to making fun of you guys. He says, "Oh, what's this then? This is the motley crew I've ever seen one. We've got a man, a kobold, a giant, and a masked figure." Everybody kind of like turns to look at the 4 of you, like as your food has just arrived and you're like getting ready to eat. Just, where in the God's name did all of you meet up? Oh, what a motley crew that is. You, what, adventurers?
We met up at the freak show. Remember, you were there.
Oh yes. I had spent many years in the freak show. Now,
Yes,
what are your names, if you wouldn't mind?
Medea looks to Alveron.
Oh, come on, just a bit of fun.
Sorry, this is the exact moment I filled my mouth with a peanut butter pretzel.
Alveron is like, oh, what?
Shut of a bit. Alright, what's up?
While you're trying
Just
to
friends.
stall,
Just friends passing through. Mate, no need to call attention. There's weirder folk than us here tonight. I kind of raise my glass, just kind of look over at the next table, just have kind of that half salute, and take a drink.
Oh, I suppose you're right. I'm sure that there's a one-armed, one-eyed man somewhere in here that we could make fun of for being stranger.
I think it took Sulveran up into Alveron's response to realize that they were talking about them. Mostly because the phrasing threw him off. And he is going to look at himself and the rest of them and then back at the man. And then just completely dismissing the man, he turns to the rest of the table and says in his usual, not particularly quiet voice, I think he has not seen giants.
Ah, Sulveran, your legendary perception precedes you.
At that point, he kind of he turned a little bit to talk to some other people, but he turns back to you. He says, "So, did you come back from killing a dragon or some other thing? What's the word on the street? The farmer loses chicken?" Again, just really honing in on you guys.
Is the crowd paying attention? This is when I wish we had the bard. God damn it!
The crowd is absolutely hammered and is focused on nothing but this exchange.
Uba's starting to get a little bit upset at the insults. Just a
You
little.
also,
Nothing.
Any of you can make an insight check as well.
Okay. It doesn't fill me
Sorry,
with confidence,
Marisa, go ahead.
Andrew.
Can I make an
I'm
investigation check to see if he's anything unusual or there seems to be something off about him? Like his appearance?
How would you be? I think that would certainly be an insight check. I don't know. What are you investigating?
Like literally just looking at his clothes and seeing if it looks like he's hiding something on him.
That would be a perception check.
Okay. 20. Yeah, does something seem
hiding? He does have a weapon. He's got a rapier with him, and you can see that there is a loot case that he seems to have put away, and he's wearing armor, studded leather, but doesn't seem to be anything particular that he's attempting to openly hide, like you know. He doesn't have a coat on or anything, so it's just like his shirt and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the armor, obviously.
Well, you would know you yourself, like, handle yourself in a fight.
Sulveran, you could tell that this guy is running out of material, and he's very glad you walked in the room, because if nothing else, he can just call you weird repeatedly, and the crowd will probably enjoy it. Uba, you think that this man does not like you in particular. You're not sure why, you just get that feeling.
Uba's gonna get
you don't really
a bit
care.
more mad.
You're like, this guy's just a joker. You've met types like this before at similar bars. He's just gonna make fun of everybody until people stop giving him coin.
The only thing, I'm more focused on the crowd than I am him, because I've dealt with, comedians before. But I'm just trying to make sure that no one in the crowd is like, boy, that prick with the sword over there looks like that guy someone offered me 500 gold to kill. That's what I'm more focused on.
People are staring at you. Whether or not anybody has noticed you, nobody's made a commotion about it. Right around this time is when the sending happens.
Yeah, Uber just hears in his head, what's this? Hey, we sold the carriage looking for where you are. I suppose it's a tavern of some kind. I'm glad that we sent you to book passage on a ship, so we can get out of here pretty quickly.
Uba doesn't really know how sending works, so they're just gonna loudly yell "Will" at the top of their lungs.
Right.
They think that Will might be nearby.
I don't want to spend a second spell slot to explain sending to you in ascending.
Oh,
So
is
Uba is
this one named
currently
Will? I'm surprised. It can talk.
Uba became aware of that and said, "Hey, what is that supposed to mean?" and is currently standing on their stool, which makes them about 3 feet tall, and is looking irate.
Can I like motion to Uba to sit, like putting a hand and be like, Uba, please.
Sulveran is just going to lean in and still talking to Uba, quite loud, easily enough heard, but not like he's actually trying to be. He is not very learned. He thinks I am a giant and you are a beast. Take pity.
I don't know if it works mechanically, but can Charlie roll a persuasion check to see if how Uba reacts to that? Because I'm
Sure.
kind of indifferent.
That's fine.
Genius. Meanwhile, Will has turned to Cal and says, I don't know where they are. I'm pretty sure Uba's about to start a fight with someone. So let's just go towards the loudest noise.
Okay, I think that's high enough that Uba is still very pissed off, but they've stepped off of their stool and are currently sitting down. Still glaring, though.
I'd like to turn to Alveron and say, can you tell the man something so mean he puts his attention elsewhere? I will
don't
give.
mean to be rude, but you did see me put an entire peanut butter pretzel into my mouth directly before you engaged with me, correct? I feel like
Yes.
a chipmunk. Okay.
So mean.
That's why
Alright.
they did it.
I like to imagine this happens to Alveron again as well.
Literally, chicken leg to Alveron's mouth as this is happening. Frickin',
I will give you extra gold if you make the man cry.
Andrew,
Can he?
Yeah.
can I attempt? Let me see. There is a sailor's shanty that is sung when, because aboard ships, like people would do stories, and they like. Have you seen the ones about pirates and sailors doing pantomime, essentially to keep each other entertained? So if someone was having a particularly bad gig, I'm inventing this. There is a shanty that most sailors know that is kind of your graceful exit. We'll all sing it to get you off stage and get the next act on. No shame, no nothing. Just listen, bud. You're funny, but you're not that funny. Let's get the next act on. We'll have a couple more drinks and we'll see if you're going to be funny in half an hour. I'll stand up. You want performance or persuasion?
I think this is a performance check. Certainly.
I'll start to sing that song.
Okay.
Can he have advantage on it since Sulveran just called him a moron loudly enough to be heard by most?
I don't think it's relevant enough.
Got it.
To the performance roll.
All right, coming in.
Not great. Okay. I'll have him make a roll that is essentially will be an opposed roll. Based off of like how long he's been with the crowd and stuff.
Alveron gets into a battle of the bards.
Oh, I rolled as Alveron an accident, but that's fine. He rolled a 10. So his performance up till now has been passable. But once somebody starts to be like, all right, we need to get him out, and you start doing like I'm trying to think what the phrase might be, but you start
roll him on or something.
Yeah,
roll him on,
something like
the
that.
next one on.
Roll him on. Everybody, all the people are drunk enough. They don't care. This is also entertaining. But they start to shout it until he's like, "Oh, come on! Oh, fine, fuck all of you!" And he will pick up his hat with some coins in it and leave the stage. Around the time that Will and Kala enter, hearing the sound, the cacophony of this sound. All these people chanting.
I'll wave down one of the bartenders as they're walking, or not bartenders, sorry, I guess it would be waitstaff, as they're wandering about, and just, hey, Send him a short ale on mine. Tell him no hard feelings. Just, a couple of my friends were getting a little feisty, and I wanted to make sure we didn't have a brawl while he was upstage. I'm
Okay.
sure he'll understand. So I'll send him a short beer just to smooth things over.
Make just a straight charisma, because it's not really persuasion. I think it's just a charisma roll, like flat.
Sure.
Oh.
Kind of
Okay.
that funny, but all right.
Yeah, he will, after receiving a short beer and like hearing this, he'll like look at you and like roll his eyes, but like still raise the glass up. At which point, Kellen will join you at the table as the chanting ends.
I really thought I was going to get in here to see Uba stabbing someone.
It
Would
was
never.
a near fucking thing.
Well,
I think
seems
that's selling
everything's
him
turned
short a
out.
bit. There were no swords drawn, no knives, no daggers.
Certainly
There was a
seems
dagger
like
in his eyes.
it was
there.
more entertaining here than at the selling the carriage.
You didn't find the haggling with that man to be interesting? It's been a long time since I got to haggle with someone over the price of, well, I've probably never haggled for a carriage.
It was fun, but
You know
a near stabbing and apparently booing somebody off stage does sound, like a good time.
Is there someone else on stage now?
The stage is empty
Did they
at
have
the
a follow-up
moment.
act?
Oh,
Perhaps-
Will, are you gonna? Will, are
You
you
know-
gonna?
No.
You
Unless
probably
the
see a couple people like
Sounds really angry about
contemplating
it. Like,
but
if the tavern is angry at specifically Alveron about there being no entertainment, maybe, but Will doesn't.
they seem to kind of just
Will is
be
not at the
waiting.
forefront.
They assume that somebody will come on eventually. They might get rowdy like in an hour if there's no other entertainment. But they're happy to take a break and continue drinking it.
So we sold the carriage. Did you manage to find some ship or barge we could get passage across the lake on?
Not yet. I was talked out of immediately going into one of the dockside taverns. Quite frankly, I think it's where we belong anyways. But we haven't, I don't think, secured passage yet.
I think that would probably be best if Alveron did it, or you. We figured it would be good to have both of you there for negotiations. At least
just
that
kinda-
was my thought.
I look over at Will and just, not to try to shirk work, but until we're sure that we're not being followed, I probably shouldn't be the one negotiating directly with any of our dockside friends.
All right. Yes, you're probably right, Alveron. But in future, when we're not avoiding people looking for you, I'm more than happy for you to negotiate any water travel without me needing to be there. That's fine.
Like I said, not trying to shirk on you, Will. Just
Yeah, I think Will's more responding to Medea, being like, "You need to both be there." Like, no, we don't. That's an outrageous thing to say. Only one of us is necessary. All right, I'll go find passage. You continue to, I don't know, ruin performers' days, I suppose.
in our
Does-
defense, he came for us first.
And
I think
Uba-
Sulveran.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go Uba.
I was gonna say, since Uva's decided not to fight this particular person that hates kobolds, can Uba try and upstage them with another dramatic retelling of their stories?
Sure, you can feel free to get up on stage and make a performance check.
Okay.
I will. I was going to say
Mediocre
that I would give you
performance.
bardic inspiration.
Oh, should I?
Might be,
You do
it
have-
might be too late.
You do have regular inspiration if you want to reroll. Although 11 isn't bad considering you only have a +1.
That's fair. I'll leave it for now. It's better than like a 1 or something.
I mean, it's slightly
Better than
better
he did
than,
at the end
he
of-
rolled. Yeah. What story do you tell?
Uba tells the tale of the great demon slaying, but they try to embellish it a little bit and make it not seem like it was specifically the party because they don't want anyone
Okay,
to
you
know.
like genericize the story slightly, and
Yeah, they make it more of like a legend than like an actual true story.
The
Okay.
heroic kobold and the 4 invisible figures.
They're lackeys.
yeah, you like change some names, remove some details, spice it up a little bit. So maybe somebody dies in this version.
Not Uba.
Not
Of
Uba,
course,
yeah.
not Uba. Uba didn't even come close to dying.
Sulveran stand-in, whose name is Sulveran, because Uber's not that creative. That person dies.
While being mean. Just arrow straight through the head.
So yeah, you get up on stage and you begin to weave this tale. It's pretty clear to any discerning audience member that you're a fairly amateur storyteller. However, this is not a discerning audience, and that they are pleased and happy with your tale. A couple of people just throw coins. Some of them probably plink off of your scales, like plink, plink, plink. I only got a 12, so oh, okay. You earn 4 copper pieces, a silver, and 1 gold gets chucked at you, probably narrowly missing your eyeball as it kind of smacks you in the face.
When Uba's done with their story, they collect the money that was chucked up on them, take a bow, stick their tongue out at the previous act, and then go and sit down.
With this done, the crowd kind of returns to a state of normalcy once more, continuing to drink. And by this point in time, it's getting on like evening or so. You all finish up your various meals. You might be able to book passage out today if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think Will is leaving, like, is about to leave when Uber starts telling the story and listens to, like, the first 2 or 3 minutes of Uber's story, and then it's like, you could probably teach Uber a thing or two about storytelling, but later. And then goes to book the passage while Uber's telling the story.
Okay.
Thanks, Sulveran follows her out.
Okay. You guys, you're quite near to the docks as you chose tavern near to the docks. And there's all sorts of signs for like the ferry, ferry travel. There's probably maybe 5 competing like ferry businesses here. You maybe talk to a couple of them. Sorry, go ahead.
When Will, if Sulveran's coming with Will, will kind of say to Sulveran, I'm going to ask the ferrymen about if any of them have seen or heard of someone matching Alveron's description. Can you watch them to see if they give away any signs that maybe they would be willing to try and kill us in our sleep? And I'll give you bardic inspiration.
Indeed.
So yeah, with each of them, will pretend to be one of the people that's like looking for Alveron to see if they have any response to like that.
Sure. Okay.
You're like,
go ahead.
yeah, you're like, I'm looking for actually like once we've worked out the cost of passage would be, I'm looking for a man actually, swordsman, dresses like a sailor. It's really all I was told about him. Have you seen or heard anything about such a man? And I just want to see if they react at all to that, like that they may have been approached to do the same thing.
Make a good die, bad die roll first, and then we will make an insight roll. God, every time, good die, every time. All right. I swear, you guys roll amazing with this. particular mechanic. Okay.
Oh, and also I have Bardic, I think. That's D8 now these days, right?
God damn.
I'll go through the easy bit. The ferry prices are pretty standardized. It's going to be a gold a head, basically. Not super expensive. You might be able to haggle him down if you want to, but you get the sense that like this is a competitive area. They're already kind of cutting costs and trying to keep the price as low as they can. When you ask if like, hey, has anybody ever seen Alveron, quote unquote, not literally quote unquote, but the man kind of like looks at you like furrowed brow, and kind of says, are you looking for that person? What is this about? Sulveran. This man seems to have heard of this description, is what you get the sense of. Although it sounds to you, like from his reaction, is that it's like he's like a little weirded out, almost like he had just been asked this question fairly recently.
Yeah.
But he does say
Sulveran,
to Will, like, why do you ask? Like, what's this about?
yeah, Sulveran is going to lean over to her, and I think he's going to first. He's kind of awkwardly turns to the ferryman, and then he like gestures at like his coin purse, like where one would keep a coin purse, and he's like, and then he turns to Will, and this is like a very awkward attempt at just like disguising the reason he's speaking to her in Gathite, and it's just incredibly like he looks just so like child like when he does this and looks at Will. You might want to ask him about if there's been anyone else who's looked for him. I think he knows someone. That bit's in Gathite.
Will like takes far less time than Jack takes to pass information and says, oh, it's just been a rumor going around that look, full disclosure, the man's someone that served with me a long time ago in the Ramnian Navy, and I've heard some people are looking for someone matching that description. And we just kind of want to get across the river to continue looking for him.
Well, I heard something about a bounty in that description. So it was more of a well, yeah, it sounds like your friend ran into some unsavory types or something. No, I couldn't really tell you. Somebody else asked me about it a couple days ago. Keep a lookout, although I don't really. We're a ferry. We don't care who we take across, really. Not in a bounty hunting business.
Will nods and says, "It's nothing more honest than someone that works on the water." And she like reaches into her coin purse and says, I'll book passage for 5, and like pulls. No, 5.
Okay.
I'm paying for 5, and we're gonna invisible Alveron onto the boat.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
But I'm going to give him 7 gold and say, look, I appreciate your candor for the information. Hopefully I catch up with my friend before those looking to do him some harm do. But we'll, I assume this person's leaving this evening and is like an overnight kind of voyage.
It's like a ferry company. Like this man seems to own like several ferries that make trips throughout the day. But it is a 1-day thing. Like it takes a full day to get across the lake.
Right. I'll pay him the 5 for the passage. And then I think Will searches like her arcane brain for how Medea's weird elk is going to work. I wonder if she can just make that again. That's how spells are.
Medea will
Alright.
communicate that they can just dismiss the elk and then bring them back one time, and it's needed.
Yeah, so I'll pay 5 for everybody except for Alveron, and then I'll give him an extra couple of gold for the information.
He will kind of, as you finish paying, like he gets a look on his face, is like thought of like something else that he might tell you, but like almost thinks to hold it back, but then will say, if you are looking for your friend, and it's the same one from the bounty, I would tell your friend to stay away from Tal'Anfagon. The man who asked me was an Elcar, and he had the look of an unsavory type about him. I know there's some word on the street that one or two gangs that have kind of rose up down that way. I try to stay clear of that and make sure that we don't transport anything that either of the Suthanates wouldn't want. We keep a clean business, run with good merchants, do a lot of trade with the Elcar. So kind of shrugs. You could always ask them too about the bounty. Just a
Little
thought.
smile. I appreciate it. I hope it doesn't come to asking unsavory Elcar for information about my friend, but if it does, I will remember your advice, and probably pulls out another 3 gold and like hands him a little bit more for his forthcomingness.
See, honesty pays well. I'll pocket the coins.
Will smiles and says, "All right, we'll go prepare for the voyage," and heads back to the tavern with all of this running around her head, on top of the fact that getting Kala to give her that 10 gold is going to be real hard. But Will kind of says to Sulveran on the way back, "Seems Alveron is wanted further and wider than we perhaps thought."
Seems a bit impressive, if I remember the maps that Medea showed me correctly.
What was the name of the city, Andrew?
That you're heading to is Tal'Anfagon.
No, sorry. Was that
Yes.
Was that the same one? Stay away from. Shit.
Yes.
That is the one that they said to stay away from, which is also no, I think I can say this. It's not spoilery. Maybe slightly. You know that your ship was headed from the north to the south, and this is in the south.
Gotcha. So it was wrapping around into the desert. Okay.
Correct, into that sea.
Fiddle fucking
Well-
shite.
He Will thinks about it for a second, says, "All right, well, we need to talk to the others about whether or not we're going to continue on to Tal'Anfagon. I wish we hadn't sold that carriage if we're staying over this side."
Did
We'll
they
head
mention
back
how
to-
big the bounty was?
He didn't. Nobody asked. So whether the man knew or not even is unknown.
Will I don't think wanted to like put into the man's head the amount of money if he did know.
Fair.
Yeah, I guess Will comes back to the tavern with Sulveran and will return to the table. Is Uba's story finished yet?
Yeah, by this time Uba has probably wrapped up and returned.
All right. Well, so we found a ferry. I booked passage for most of us. Kala, you'll have to and Will like does a like little magical shimmer in front of Alveron. I have to make our friend here disappear for a bit to get on the boat, but that's probably the safest way. But also, the ferryman was very honest and forthcoming, and did say that an Elcar had been looking for Alveron, and suggested that if my friend did head to Tal'Anfagon, it might be a bad idea.
Which seems inconvenient. Sulveran is probably watching Alveron pretty carefully to see his reaction to how far and widely he is being hunted.
So just making sure, correct me if I'm wrong, and this is for the other PCs. I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Everyone's understanding is, from what I've described to you all, whether or not you believe it or not, but what I've fronted at this point is that I was conscripted, essentially, served with unsavory types for a while, and then managed to escape relatively soon before you all met me. That's what everyone's tracking. Correct?
Will has said that you've Will said pirate as well, I think, in front of us all.
Will specifically name dropped pirates, I think, because she was looking for my reaction. Am I right on that, Jack?
Yeah. Yeah, but yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And I think Kala said pirates as well.
Yeah, I think she did. Okay.
Alveron, if we're going to press farther, it might be good for us to have the whole story so we can know what kind of people we're dealing with. Were these your normal kind of unsavory folk, smugglers, or what kind of business do they deal in? If we're going to be dealing with this, and presumably helping you with it, I think we're entitled to know a little bit more.
Alveron looks massively uncomfortable.
How exactly does that help us?
We know if we're fighting simple smugglers or people who run a much wider-reaching operation.
So then the question is, exactly how much of a threat do you think these people are to us?
Andrew, is the blackened sky a common? Is it an understood pirate ship amongst sailors? Is it a known ship?
It has a reputation. When Will, I think, rolled to know it, they rolled poorly. So I think I will say that
I think Alveron made up a different ship. Said that.
Okay. Yes.
That he had been on a unscrupulous
That's
ship.
correct.
And
You had
mentioned
said,
that
I
one.
think.
And Will didn't know that.
I think Jack's right on that. I made up a different ship name earlier, and
Yeah, you said it was the last one that you had hit, like with that.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me check on this.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes. So the Blackened Sky is fairly well known. It has a reputation.
Gotcha. I'm looking back through my character notes. This is why we digitize these.
Yes.
To anyone watching, this is why you digitize your notes, because Control F works a lot better than a legal pad.
Which is part of the reason why your crew had the new captain decided to change locales.
Yeah. All right. So, have any of you heard of the pirate ship, the Blackened Sky?
Need to roll, given my background.
But doesn't know.
Roll just to see how much you know.
Can I make a history check as well?
You can. The DC will be higher for you because you would have a good reason to know.
Yeah.
I also got a 60.
I'll have Kala roll. Or the DC will also be high for her. Let's roll 17. Okay. Medea, you've traveled quite a bit. You maybe have heard the name, pirate ship, but you don't know that much about it. But you don't know the names of many ships, so the fact that you've heard of this ship means
it speaks to its reputation whatsoever.
Somewhat important. Will, you've never encountered the Blackened Sky. You know that it was operating for many years around the same, in the same seas that both the ships that you worked on were, and that you perhaps even narrowly avoided an encounter with it one time. The previous captain was known to be a voraciously greedy man, very interested in wealth, but among pirates was considered to be somewhat honorable, like, ransoms were always done with the Blackened Sky without too much issue. Certainly people would be press ganged to work on the ship, but it wasn't, they were never just treated like absolute meat for the meat grinder. They were always like given at least a fighting chance and some training. But you had heard, before you had left your ship, that the previous captain had passed somehow. The details you hadn't heard, but just that there was a new captain of the Blackened Sky, supposedly.
I think Will looks at Medea and Kala.
You would also know it's a bigger ship. Like, it's a fairly sizable vessel with a decent sized crew.
Medea looks disconcerted. Like, they don't know the name of the ships, and the fact that they've heard of this one at all is like, oh, well, that can't be good. I was hoping I would not know that this thing even existed.
I think we'll say, sorry, Will, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say Will looks at Kala to see what her response is.
Kala says, well, I do know the Black Skies has a reputation. But the previous captain was known to be, I guess, not a gentleman pirate, but, as these things go, not that bad.
Amiable.
They plundered many vessels in their day. I suppose I should say you plundered many vessels in your day. How long did you work with them? Or forced to work with them? Question mark.
I originally set out aboard a Lamon Sea Company ship when I was still a teenager. Our ship was boarded. Prisoners were taken. Those who were not worth ransoming were to be marooned. Those of us, all of us, were given the option to instead enlist instead of being marooned on an island. I chose to join instead of take the risk. I still don't know what happened to my first crew, but part of the reason I hang out dockside in every town we go to is hoping to catch a rumor or hoping to run into one of them and know that they're still alive. I joined the Blackened Sky as first sword. When I joined, that meant that I was the first person to cross onto a ship to be pillaged. I don't know why I survived as long as I did, but eventually I was able to leverage my skills more with negotiation with our captain. And I became more used as a way to avoid bloodshed between boardings. Talking down captains, talking down first mates, and making sure that not everything turned into a bloodfest. When the old captain died, however, our new captain was, I look over at Kala, because she and I have talked privately about this, a cruel man and a vicious man. And once the focus was no longer on a more honorable interpretation, I had to leave. So I escaped with another young sailor who was similarly press ganged. But I don't honestly know why they're following me this hard. I don't know if it's reputation. I don't know if it's some machismo sense of honor. I don't know why.
Do you
Never
know?
hit someone this hard.
Do you know if perhaps the other person you helped escape they're looking for, and you're a way to get to them?
I got him to his family before I met up with you. He should be safe.
Was he particularly important?
No, not to the people on the blackened sky.
Did you take anything before you left?
Nothing that wasn't mine. The only thing I left him with was I cut another sailor's belly open to stop him from following us off the ship, but even that should have been just handled quietly.
You think the problem may be that you took yourself from them and they don't consider that to not be their property.
It could be, but
It's
I was valuable, but I wasn't that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't value my skills as a negotiator when I left.
Perhaps you leaving delegitimized the new captain in the eyes of the others. A respected crew member who'd been with the ship for some time leaving as soon as somebody else comes aboard might not have been seen as a good sign for their leadership.
That is a possibility.
Especially if in the first parts of his days, 2 people immediately escaped. Can't see that to be a good start to one's leadership role.
Do you gain much credit back by hunting them? Sulveran is probably drumming his fingers on the table at this point, just generally agitated at the story.
I think you certainly make an example of those that would want to leave. I think Will assumes that the previous captain did not die and then a benevolent nearby pirate took over. I think Will's going to assume that there was something untoward about the transfer of leadership, but doesn't feel like Alveron needs to reveal everything, all of his secrets about anything. And says, look, so the blackened skies on water, very fearful, but on land, they don't have the benefit of their big ship. I'm sure they are very capable, but we are also quite capable. I think we should continue on to Tal'Anfagon, but I understand if that's not something you're willing to do, Alveron.
I'm willing to make the journey, and I think together our odds of pass. I think they're expecting me to be traveling alone or as kind of a lone bodyguard to someone else. That's what they'd expect of a former pirate.
Cal will say, there was, what, 5 people after you? You wouldn't send 5 people after a group of 6. If it had been all of us together, I think we easily would have defeated the pursuers. I don't think it would have even been an issue.
Alveron, what if we went to Tal'Anfagon to deal with this in Permium? We can't exactly run from this forever.
Wait. Also, there is a drug problem and some gangs in Tal'Anfagon, and they seem to potentially be involved in this. I heard on the road, and I haven't had a chance to really explain
Andrew,
this
do
to
I
you,
know anything about the Blackened Skies involvement in the drug trade?
This will be like a retrospective thing, but make an insight check.
Sure.
It's called Atius, the drug.
I'll give you advantage. So if you roll low, roll again. 13. You remember the captain saying something about like better goods in the south to steal? You assumed he was talking about like metals because you know that there's a lot of things that are mined in like rate and stuff that are transported by sea that could be valuable. But it's possible he was talking about like stealing drugs and then selling them like to other buyers.
Great. I
It's
really
also
fire.
it's also just possible that like these gangs are just happen to be willing to take the bounty money.
Hmm.
You would need more information to be certain.
There's also, how attached are you, Alveron, to the way you look right now? Like, we could change the color of your hair, buy you a different cut of armor. You could stop dressing like a sailor. I know that's
a
difficult.
makeover. That would be fun.
Well, I wasn't thinking of it as a makeover, but I would like to see Alveron with bright white hair. I think that would really change the aesthetic that Alveron carries himself with.
We could try to pass you off as a half Elcar.
I'm loving the fact that what I think this is coming to is Sean is going to need to find new character art by the next session. I'm down for it.
With the marriage of Calla, this is suspiciously close to like some Leggett Hot tier plotting as well.
Right, like I'm sitting here like, so my partner has been obsessed with The Circle lately. Is this what we're getting to? Am I now in a reality TV show?
Like if we really wanted to make Alveron look nondescript, you know, we could go a bit farther than that. But
Literally, all we need to do is change Alveron's hair, and you have to stop dressing like a sailor. Like, we change your armor.
Okay,
I think that would
you're
do it.
not wrong. You're not wrong, Will. However, kind of am married to the lifestyle.
Hey,
No,
I wouldn't necessarily do it, but I'm not being hunted by pirates.
No,
are you married to your life in particular?
I think, yes, I'm married to my life. I get it. I understand the necessity. All right.
We could perhaps
In private,
tattoo
you
you.
could put on your sailor clothes, and we could all call you sailor names.
Okay. Sarah, that's wildly diverging into fetish territory, and we're going to avoid that.
Can we give Sarah reverse inspiration?
Yeah.
You have inspiration, Medea? We'll take it away. No,
I think I
don't.
currently have reverse inspiration after hearing we call him Sailor in private.
Oh.
Cal will also say, well, certainly if we get to Tal'Anfagon and you are being hunted down, I can't imagine that these petty drug dealers would be a match for the place where we're hiding the book, which is Melfindian's tower.
I'll make it known. You know what? I'm a duelist. Let's dress me like one. Let's go full to the hilt. Let's find some flashy ass swashbuckler, Three Musketeers motherfucker looking
can dress you as
garb.
a Thracian duelist.
Let's do it. Let's give me a bob. Hold on, do you have a bob and a ponytail at the same time?
Yeah, I'm sure that Orlando Bloom has had that haircut at some point.
You know what? I hate you. You're not wrong, but I still hate you.
All right, that's easier as well.
Andrew, what was it you said about our professionalism at the start of the episode?
Out the window.
I think disguising you as a Thracian duelist is the most professional.
Uh-huh.
All
right. Just so you know, Jack, it's your job to help me find character art if you're going to help me with the Thracian duelist type thing.
Maybe this is the time to get some commissioned.
Maybe this is the time to take a break.
Yes, this is not a bad time to take a break as we are.
Yes, segues.
All right. Why don't, with that, we take a quick break, say 10 minutes, come back at the top of the hour.
So everyone watching, we do not apologize.
No, we never. I refuse to ever apologize for absolutely anything whatsoever.
All right. Okay. Be back shortly.
I'll hop back.
Y'all made my partner just absolutely giggle and snort a little bit. That was fantastic.
Okay. And we're back. It breaks over. All right. So there was some discussion going on.
Yeah. So I think we do have to make this ship this ferry relatively quickly.
Yeah, it's in like a couple hours. You book the overnight ferry.
Yeah. We can get you some armor that is cut differently to what you're currently wearing.
Also, better armor.
A better armor.
Alveron is only wearing plain leather.
Will is wearing like gleaming studded leather and just realizes that nobody else has like got new better armor.
Nope.
It's like maybe we don't have any money for that, but certainly some kind of new outfit and a hat.
Hat. I don't know.
Something
if
dashing.
hats really fit my facial structure. You know, I don't really
mainly
have a
mainly to stop people looking at your face and make them look at the hat. Something with a big feather, maybe.
I have a spare fur in my bag.
You could wear a mask. Me.
Okay, y'all are taking panache way too seriously.
I would not call the fur panache.
The
What
only
is
hat options
panache?
Will has are very sailor based. That's the problem. Like,
What
Okay.
if Andrew? Is there any part of has the fashion with gallon hat?
Like a Western hat? No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
anyway, we don't need to really worry about this now because Kala, you can invisible away our Alveron appearance problem while we get on the ship, and while we get off. It's an overnight ferry, so I assume we paid for like rooms that we can sleep in.
And we're gonna get that dinner together tomorrow. So you don't have to leave tomorrow.
Like
Not rooms, but
not
like,
rooms, but yeah, like hammocks.
Sure, that'll be a normal thing.
Yeah.
We don't need to worry about it now. We can probably work something out at Salsam.
I mean, do we want to try to disguise me now before we get aboard this ship?
This might be the last chance we have to buy a disguise. So
we
if we
get
can't make it
to-
from what we've got.
Yeah, still we get to Lislamon. Salsam Temple doesn't
How-
have that kind of shops.
I mean,
How
easiest
different-
thing. Let's dye my hair blonde, and let's get me out of sailor clothes, and let's put me in. I don't know. I guess.
Foppish noble clothes.
Want to go floppish? We could go floppish.
What's the opposite of a sailor? Perhaps a rugged frontiersman? Something injury?
How's Alveron's facial hair looking?
Probably haven't shaved in a couple of days. If it's anything like my facial hair, I can get a beard back within about a week. So
Look at Scruffy.
yeah. Aboard the ship, I think Alveron kept it pretty clean. Never really had facial hair. It was kind of a shave it every day type guy. So can grow it out and dye it and keep dyeing it blonde.
Get a standard cut hunter's leather, maybe some kind of heavy cloak.
Could see
Boots.
it. Get a bit of a cape going on. Most duelists wouldn't wear a cape.
Yeah.
Tends to get in the way.
You can
Okay.
carry a shield on your back that you never use, but it makes it look like that you might use one.
I would literally just throw it at someone as an improvised projectile weapon, and then
So
move on with that fight.
And we'll get you a
Sulveran is going to
buckler.
reach for his strapped bag and just immediately thrust the previous shield that he used over at Alveron.
Oh God!
Like a tower
Fantastic.
shield to a human. Right,
How
to
big is this
Sulveran,
fucker?
to Sulveran, it was like a buckler, right? So to Alveron, it's probably like a normal, like decent sized, like circle shield.
Yeah. It was not
Jesus.
a large shield that he wielded.
So we need to get better armor that's cut like a hunter. Some kind of. You probably need different boots if you're not on a ship.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, so we're looking for more like we're trying to go with kind of a ranger cut. More of a woodsman type vibe. Or
At least till we
fucking-
get to somewhere with actual choices of shops. I'm not sure that
Yeah.
we could cultivate the duelist format here. Will's kind of like doing some thinking. He says, I know where I'm at money-wise. This will cost us some amount of stuff. Also, Kala, I paid for the passage. It was 15 gold.
Oh, well, here you go. And she'll hand you a purse containing 20.
All right. I will give her back 10. I just wanted
I
to
had
see if
some-
Sulveran was going to rat me out.
I had some gold of
Sulveran
my
just-
own. Oh, sorry, Sullivan.
No, you're good.
I can afford like the clothes change and everything, though the armor might be a bit of a stretch depending on the price.
Well, if you're just
I
buying...
could sell my sailor's cut type leathers and try to see if that fetches a decent enough price to kind of offset the cost. What am I?
Well, since we've mostly paid up, and sold off the carriage, I have some funds again, and I could cut you some money. If you wanted studded leather, I certainly have enough for that to continue our passage. And
Yeah.
she will slide the 10 gold back to Will, just like look at you flatly.
All right. Great. All right. Well, shall we go armor shopping then?
Let's. Yes, I'll try to find like a tailor that, or just a frippery that I could kind of not exchange necessarily, but kind of exchange my clothes, pick up a new set, more like traveler slash, woodsman type garb, rather
Okay.
than that was more suited to the flowy, softer fabrics of a seaman. What would I be looking at for that wardrobe change there, Andrew?
30 traveler's clothes, like one set. Those are only running like 2 gold, which Kala is more than happy to pay for if you cannot afford.
I've got it.
Okay. To go up to studded leather, which is kind of what you guys were talking about, would be 45 minus the leather you got, probably 40.
Okay. Yeah, I'll need her help with that for sure.
Okay. She will front you for 40.
I will at the same time buy a small gnomish set of studded leather for Uber. Like, let's try and find a relatively small. That's probably the smallest set of armor that this like leather worker has.
Uba, did you buy it or is Uba buying it?
If Uber's with Will, Uber will will basically ask the
I went ahead and
leather
added
worker if they
the
have
studded leather to your sheet.
it'll be like to the leather worker, do you have anything that will fit my friend here? And Will gestures down to Uber.
Certainly. Children's clothing, some gnomish garb would probably fit.
Some kind of studded leather armor.
Oh, armor.
Like Will looks
Studded
down
leather,
at mostly the weapons that Uber is carrying.
Yeah, I don't think I've always imagined that Uba is basically just wearing some type of like not kilt, but like some sort of furs like covering their lower half and they're basically been shirtless this whole time.
Yes, we have some things that could work with that. If you you're interested. It would run you about 45.
We'll just kind of, not really thinking about it, we'll start just reaching into her own coin purse to pay for it.
I think even though Uva probably has way more, they're not going to argue.
Mm-hmm.
Why they have way more.
Yep. So Will pays for it and says, "This'll less things will get through this to damage your shiny scales."
Uva says, thank you, I appreciate it. And then realizing there's no spot for a tail is contemplating how they'll wear it, but that's an issue for a different time.
I'm ready for the ship, although we do need to invisible Alveron.
Yes. Well, we should do that when we get to the docks. It only lasts for about an hour.
Sure. Yeah, I trust Carla to know when to do stuff.
Thankfully, I do have that prepared. I have most of my spells prepared at any given moment. I only know something. Once you get to the docks, Ella will cast invisibility on the newly garbed Alveron. But first we get a montage of Alveron changing and like the different looks that he tries on, because obviously.
Oh, absolutely. I'm imagining Sharpay's entire thing from High School Musical 2.
You're losing me with this reference.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Turk. Something
I've seen
important
the
from
first
Turkey
one many
and Turkey.
times, but never any of the other ones.
Okay, so the second one doesn't hold up as well at all. Sharpay and the rest go right back to being assholes, which completely does away with all of the character development we got by the end of the first movie, which it just cuts you to the quick. But regardless, what I'm saying for anyone in the audience who's still somehow watching this as I go on a High School Musical lore rant,
this is the content people come to see.
this is exactly what the people desire. God damn it. Sharpay from High School Musical 2. That's what I'm going for Alveron right now.
Okay. So very pink.
Yes.
All right. You find a nice.
Great. Now I'm doing Legally Blonde, and you can't stop me.
Right.
We'll say it's like almost a lilac color. Maybe not quite pink.
I can do lilac.
Right. We'll walk onto the ship then.
Right.
Because Will is not
yeah.
in danger.
Alveron, make a stealth check with advantage.
Alrighty, kids.
Oh, I suggest that you should walk next to Sulveran because they have the heaviest footfalls. So you can have bardic inspiration for my leadership skills.
How is it?
Really trying hard to avoid paying this one gold.
I paid double. It's more that people don't see Alveron getting on the ship.
Sure, that's fair.
I'm not trying to right click roll with advantage or
shift.
Yeah, when he's been notified of this.
Woof magoof, my son.
This bardic inspiration is probably useful then.
Yeah,
I mean,
roll the D8.
Thank God for fucking proficiency and expertise, but
anyone else would have automatically failed, except for I think Will.
Yeah,
maybe Uva actually. Actually, no, Will would have failed. Uva would have been the only other person that could have made that passable.
I think this is going to be a good D8 roll. That's the important thing. Are you using the bardic inspiration, Sean?
I will definitely use it. It's a D8 at this point, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, 15 stealth is pretty good, but I'll still.
Not terrible, yeah. It certainly could be passable.
I'll fucking
8.
I'll send
Excellent.
it in. Holy jumping Jesus on a pogo.
Bringing that up to a 23. All right, with a 23, yeah, you are you stand very close to Sulveran, and to mask any noise, the creak of the ship and everything like that, and stay invisible up until you're well underway. The crew's like focused on other things. The people are up and about. You find a nice, like, quiet spot where there's nobody looking to re-visible Alveron. At which point you are going on your way towards Salsum Temple. The lake does look very pretty at this point. It's like sunset, like pretty late sunset. The sun is almost fully behind the horizon, but you can still see the twinges of orange and purple light still eking out of the sun. And it does illuminate the lake very nicely as it kind of twinkles, the waves lapping along as you go. Alveron and Will, once again, comfortable on an even more ocean-like environment than the river trip.
It's also probably been like over a year since Will slept in a hammock. So
Sulveran
Will's
is looking
enjoying
to
that.
Medea. Sorry.
Sulveran, I think you have to sleep on the floor. I'm not sure the hammock
Yeah.
can accommodate you.
Yeah, he is definitely sleeping on the floor, and 2, he's looking to Medea to see if Medea looks just as horrified as they usually look on these ships.
Medea will ask about the accommodations and be like, how large are the beds?
Say that again?
Just,
Medea will ask,
there's only hammocks, Medea.
Yeah, the sailor who
Will
you're
just
talking
consider
to is like,
hammocks.
oh. Okay.
Listen,
Sorry, for some reason my
sir,
brain
we
said
don't have
hammock,
beds.
and I was like, oh, it's small accommodation. Yeah, Medea looks absolutely horrified. They're like, do you have anywhere private to sleep? Completely private?
No, this is a ferry barge, ma'am, on a pleasure cruise.
Sulveran is just gonna clap a hand on her shoulder, like a little bit, like slightly comforting. I have a fur that I could hang up.
I will sleep on the floor.
You all bed down. The two that sleep on the floor. It's not that rocky, so it's like not like you're shifting and sliding constantly, but it is a little like lurching compared to sleeping in the hammock where you're kind of just rocked gently.
Medea is like the shipwright attempting to practice their weaver's tools until they can fall asleep. They have never been in the water this long, and they do not know how to sleep on a bed that moves.
Oh,
They're practicing
boy.
your
Like,
weaver's tools. And it's like,
this is like like just a placid lake. It's like, how do you sleep on this ship that moves? And Will's like, this doesn't move enough. This hammock's not swaying quite enough.
it's a sizable enough lake that there are like, waves and stuff. Although it is certainly not the ocean. It is not that rocky.
Yeah.
And it is clear skies as well, so you're not like getting rocked by a storm or anything.
I grew up on the Great Lakes. To me, this is just like, oh yeah, this.
Yeah. You pass the night uneventfully to
I
the
would like to
snoring
do
sounds of your.
2 sendings, please.
You would
One
like
of them
two
is to
sendings,
Pelagon.
okay.
I'd like to send a message to Pelagon. Basically, I'm not gonna like work out the 25 lines, but it's saying like what we're doing, but mainly asking how Pelagon's doing, particularly after the brutality of Sulveran. Like, hey, just checking in that you're fine and have found something to direct your attention to now that the madness is lifted. And the other one I'll send to the old first mate of my ship and ask if they've heard any rumors about the blackened skies lately. And tell them that I'll contact them again in like 3 days
Okay.
or a week
The
or 3 days.
first ship you said?
No.
The second ship?
No, I'm not sending messages to the Gathite ship asking if they know anything about the blackened skies. I don't know how to adjective blackened in Gathite.
I mean, they understand comment from Romney.
Yeah, but they find it disrespectful.
It's true. That's fair.
No, so like the first mate of the dancing deer.
Okay.
I don't know if they're still the first mate, but that person.
Yeah, I mean, they're a sailor. Yeah, they might have something. You haven't been gone that long. Like they might have gotten
Does Will-
promoted actually into
Yes, they might
or
have gotten
something.
promoted.
You know, I don't know. So they might
Does
not
Will
be a
do
first
this in
mate.
front of the crew?
You don't have to verbalize sending anyways.
No, it's in
But-
Will's head, but like Will is like probably sitting there saying, "I'm gonna. I think I should ask some questions of some people." And like you see, Will's eyes glimmer for a second, and then just a wave crash in their eyes, and then like that wave evaporates across so much distance to Pelagon, and then Will's eyes come back for a moment as she formed like the next thought of how to phrase it, and then another wave crashes to the first mate of her old ship.
Okay. Pelagon will reply something like, as I think they would understand the spell at least enough to know that they have limited words. Something like, doing well, learning to ride with dragon, seeking purpose in life. Sulveran, likely justified in reaction.
Oh. Will
I trust their judgment. But he does seem kind of sad. Like he's still. You get the sense that he is down on himself about this still.
Will considers whether or not he could convince Aracondis
Sure.
and Pelagon to become a duo, and Pelagon becomes the first dragon rider. Barbarian Gathite as everybody listed. But yeah, I'll send the second sending to. Do you want me to come up with a name for the first mate?
Sure, that would make my life easier.
All right, his name is Jacoby Brown, and he's a
Okay, I regret my decision.
3.5 foot tall gnomish man from the desert. So he's got like really like rugged, darker skin. He's in his late 40s. He carries a short bow. Do you need more of this character? I'm just making up on the spot.
The name was fine. What was his name again? Let me write this down.
3 dads.
Jacoby Brown. He's a level 17 warlock. I'll
Father's
type it.
a 20 whisper.
Well, that's
Jacoby
terrifying.
Brown.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, all of Will's old ship are level 17 characters. Will was the weakest. I don't know why I picked that name. I also don't.
mate.
I like to imagine before Will came on, it was sort of a family can be 16 dads and no one else scenario going
what?
on.
The dancing deer, is that right?
Yeah, the dancing deer.
16 what, Sarah?
It can be like a family can be 16 dads and nothing else.
Like Bojack's sister in BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
12 dads. Okay. From them, they'll say, or, I got distracted by the name. What was the phrasing that you would have used, or like kind of what was the intent of the message?
So Will is very nice to most people and very like polite, but to Jacoby is just like short response. Rumors about blackened skies. Be in contact within 7 days. In no ways, Will likes Jacoby a lot. This is very much just a like, hey, I need something, and you will provide the something.
Okay. Yeah, you'll get a response saying like, I will allude some words, like good to hear. Blackened skies not seen in North for some time. Want me to keep ear open? How are you doing?
Right, I'll respond in the morning. Stupid Jacoby trying to make it not about business. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
respond in the morning. I think maybe the next evening, just in case I need to use third level spells.
Hold on. Let me make a roll. Okay. Also, we'll say, know a guy captured or ransom from them.
Okay.
He's probably still got like a bunch of words.
No, I think that was
Getting towards the
pretty
end, I think that was like
close.
20-ish or something.
Also, I don't think he knew that it was 25. He just knew that it was a short response. Right?
Yeah, he's just like, how few words could I use? Let's test this out.
How angry will be if I?
Why many word when few word good?
Yeah. All right, then I'll go to sleep in the hammock.
Okay, excellent. You all awake to the sound of some birds in the morning. As you come up above the deck to find that you are now docked in front of a just huge temple kind of complex. It's a very large stone building that kind of stands out on the otherwise fairly flat ground that you're on, rising with a with a large steeple into the air. You all know that this is a sort of temple complex / library. So one of the biggest like places for Alamein. And also many people come here just to pray. It's like a very safe place, supposedly, for different kinds of clerics. It's very central to Imris as well. And the lake is supposed to be very calming. As you're disembarking, there are a number of pilgrims here, just various camps. There's some inns you can stay at nearby, but there's also people just like kind of camping nearby. That's seen as very fairly acceptable here. Just like pitch a tent and hang out near the temple, and do whatever you want to do. I'll just start pouring again here. Did anybody want to visit temple for any particular reason?
I believe I'd have visited before because it's along a trade route. Can I make a history check to know how much I know about it?
I don't think. Given your backstory, I'm not going to make you roll a check.
Okay, yeah.
It's fairly old, but not necessarily ancient. So still like a few thousand years old. There was a battle here during the Blight that obviously the priests won. The priests and clerics combined, and paladins. You know that there is a guard. There's an order of paladins set to essentially like guard the temple against incursion, and so nobody really messes with it. The temple also goes down underground fairly deep, and that's where like particularly important and old things are kept. Rare books, important artifacts that have been collected and deposited here, and those levels are almost exclusively off limits to just like people, just normal pilgrims. You have to like be part of the Order of Alamein to get into them, or know somebody, or it's not even something you can really buy your way into. You have to basically prove yourself to the order that you are worthy of going in here to be allowed to go in, kind of thing. But they're very friendly. It's also functions. They have a big school here. Anybody can come to learn. It's free, and a lot of people, especially poor people, will just try to make their way here and start trying to become clerics, because it's they'll take you in no matter who you are, basically. So there is a bit of like a town complex alongside the temple, but it's very simplistic. Like I said, they don't have like a ton. They wouldn't have any real clothing shops or anything like that. They would import all of that stuff and buy it like en masse. But there are inns and various different other kinds of amenities here. It's, I guess, a little bit like the Vatican City, but not quite. It doesn't have the same political weight, and it's not quite as developed.
As much as Will would like to spend like a day in Celestem Temple just learning things, I think when we talked about the voyage, she was of the opinion that the quicker we get to Tal'Anfagon, the better, since people are definitely nearby looking for Alveron. But if anybody else really wants to go, Will 100% take a day reading books.
Yeah, Al is interested,
Would
but also willing
would I
to
know-
move on if that's what the party wants to do.
Would I know if Salsa would be willing to provide us sources if we told them about what we're doing?
Maybe, maybe not. It
Right,
depends.
I mean, so,
They
like,
would
would they
probably try to take the book into their care. Not oh, we give
if
us
we
the book
didn't
now,
mention the-
but if you mentioned something like that, they would be like, oh, well, we should have that clearly. Why are you still carrying this thing? Just give it to us now.
What if we didn't mention the book, but we said something like, hey, we're dealing with demons and we could use an archive of knowledge on how to deal with them? What we're dealing with.
It depends. If you were convincing enough, or not convincing enough, they would always let you into the upper levels, no matter what. You would have to be very convincing and persuasive of the import of this for them to give you more access than a normal person would have.
Mm-hmm.
And without divulging the information about the book, that would probably be pretty hard.
I mean, Vidya will tell Will something like, if you're extremely persuasive, they certainly could have some useful texts on the demons and things we're dealing with on our end. Celestem Temple is a place of knowledge. Even if you don't get it to the lower levels, the upper levels will certainly have some info. Careful, though, not to mention the book. They will do their best to convince you to leave it with them and probably won't ask for anything else until you do.
Did Will generally know most of that stuff about Celestem Temple as well?
Not the specifics that I've mentioned, but the generals.
Will says, so you... Will says
Sorry.
something to Medea disappeared. Do you, so you think we should stay a day and...
Did you, if you could talk them into letting us...
We heard that.
Into the lower levels? Okay, yeah. I think it would be good to stay a day, and especially so if you think, perhaps with some help, talk them into getting us into lower levels. That would certainly contain useful information.
All right, I'll try and convince the depository of knowledge for the Celestem Temple to allow us into their inner sanctum of books. Will gives you a thumbs up.
I think if you tell them we're hunting demons or dealing with demons, certainly be decently amiable.
Will looks at you.
I think that's the only reason they'd even consider it.
Will looks at you as if she had just given you advice on how to contact your god about something. She's not sure she needs your help in how to be persuasive to someone. Yeah, you're right. I should be nice to them and persuasive in my attempt to persuade them to be nice to us. She will, I guess, head off to do that. It's probably better to do that not with an entire group of intimidating people.
Yeah.
Right. I hate talking to religious types.
So
Will,
ahead of the group, you kind of there's a bit of a crowd, so you would have to not push you don't have to move people out of the way, but you have to navigate the crowd to get up there.
Has it become clear to Sulveran at any point, what specific gods are worshipped here, or if it's multiple gods?
It is multiple gods. Obviously the repository of knowledge is administered by the Order of Alamein. But because of how many important things are kept here, different artifacts, basically clerics of every god can be found here. It's almost like has sprung up over time as a general religious center.
All right. Yeah. So normally, whenever Sulveran is walking around with the group, it's very like directed, very plotting, and he doesn't like make much conversation. But his head has been on a pivot since we entered the area, and he is just like he's probably even at certain points like literally falling behind because he's just watching a group of people or staring at a bit of architecture.
Yeah, it's all very interesting to you, and you do spot, like without looking too long or too hard, a building that seems to be devoted to Ordain amidst the many others. You do nothing with this knowledge.
If it's
Well,
relevant,
I didn't want to cut through Will. Like Will was wandering off, so
Oh,
I just
no,
wanted
that's
to know
okay.
what was up for this. Like,
Yeah, I
Sure,
don't
I
know.
here
I
it is.
wasn't sure if you were going to approach it or something like that. I would have cut back to Will at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll cut back to Will then. Will, you've kind of moved ahead a little bit to get to the entrance of the temple, where there are people kind of, just asking simple questions. What's your business here? What might we be able to help you with? Kind of thing.
Can I roll insight to try and gauge whether this person, based on the way they've interacted with the people in front of Will, is more likely to be not bamboozled, but like put on the back foot in the conversation by Will just being really like upfront and open about the problems that they are facing, and or if they are going to want like Will to be very serious about what.
I'm trying to parse the question. I think you've in the time that you've been here, you've seen people walk up and give fairly outlandish reasons for coming to the library, and perhaps even asking, oh, I need special access. You have to give me special access. And for the most part, they've been like, that's nice. We will, of course, give you access to the upper levels. However, the lower levels are reserved for the Order, as there are many important and delicate artifacts down there. At this time, we cannot extend that to you. But you're welcome to stick around the upper levels, research. I'm sure that there's plenty of information that can help you out there.
All right. Okay.
And they're like, rah, 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 rah. It's like,
All right.
I'm going to have to ask you to step away as the paladin steps forward.
Great. All right, then I guess we'll just approach in a neutral fashion. And they just ask what
can I do for you today?
Hello, we're looking for information about demons and magic on a magnitude that could potentially imprison powerful magic users and dragons and the like.
Very interesting subject. We do have many books on demons and magic that are open to the public at the upper levels. More than welcome to come and peruse.
I think Will, knowing what Will does about Saltum Temple, will kind of just assume that we will find stuff there, but we'll say
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, yeah,
right.
I should make it clear to the audience, like, this is not a bad offer. What they're giving you is still access to like a vast reserve of knowledge. They're just not willing to like send you into the place where like, quote unquote, the spear of destiny is kept, and like, the ancient texts from original manuscripts from before the fall of the Elven Kingdoms.
That would be fantastic. The repository of knowledge of Salton Temple is, of course, renowned all over. Do you have potentially a member of the Order that we could speak to about some of the intricacies? None of us, and Will kind of gestures back to the group, none of us are real experts in the nature of demons and their ability to kind of summon and impact the world in a larger scale.
If you are looking for a librarian to help you, we of course offer those services. We do charge a small fee just for upkeep and stuff like that. It would be 1 silver an hour.
Okay.
Very modest.
Yeah, I think Will smiled and says,
if you would like to hire an expert in a particular area, say on demons, we can have a more learned cleric accompany you. That would run you about 5 gold an hour, but they would be able to most quickly locate the sort of knowledge that you might be looking for.
Fantastic. I'll have a word with my compatriots and then avail ourselves of the books.
Excellent.
Will smiles, walks off, thinking very much in her head about how she could have approached that differently and maybe gotten more of a response, but I think she thinks she did fairly well out of it.
Yeah.
And we'll head back to the group and say to everybody, but primarily Medea, well, I don't think anyone's getting into the lower sanctums of Salsum Temple without being a member of the Order itself. They did offer we could use the upper levels and have a cleric who's perhaps an expert in demonology to guide us.
The cleric alone would be useful. Perhaps if we talk to a cleric, they might be more willing to talk about a plea for additional resources, if we can convince them it's a worthy cause.
Perhaps. Also, it will be 5 gold an hour to speak to the cleric, but
I'll pay for the first 2 hours.
great.
Andrew, would the temple provide resources for something like people seeking out help in tasks like this?
Not really. The cause of this particular order of Element and this particular temple is to store knowledge and disseminate knowledge. There are orders that like seek out knowledge or try to protect things, but like going after demons and hunting them down, that's like, that's for other, like, you want to go find a paladin, a Parador or something like that. Like, they're not gonna, it's just not their bag, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, certainly they would want to help you
Alveron.
out, like, with whatever knowledge that they can give you, but they don't necessarily have the kinds of...
Would I know if Salsum has a teleportation circle?
Oh yeah, sure. They have a bunch. It's super expensive to use.
Okay.
None of you could afford it. Altogether, I don't think you could afford it.
I forgot how expensive teleportation circles are in Imris.
Every major city in Imris has at least one teleportation circle that is publicly available, and more that are not publicly available. But yeah, it's like, in the realms of thousands of gold. You're paying to instantaneously transport halfway across the world which can be extremely valuable. It's also high level magic. You need like a 5th level spellcaster.
And
a
expensive
spellcaster
to make
who can
a
cast
permanent
5th.
thing.
Yeah, it takes a whole year to just make that circle.
Something like 20. It's so much money. Like the sapphire, it's 500 gold worth of sapphire chalk a day or something. Some nonsense.
They're insanely expensive to make.
But yes, we can talk to a cleric, and from my understanding, the upper levels of Salton Temple have more knowledge than really any of us could even hope to attain at any point. So I guess we just go in
Okay.
Yeah.
Start reading some books.
If Will wants to, we'll do, but Medea will like go and seek out the cleric.
No, Will's happy to let Medea deal
Okay.
with it. If there is a public teleportation circle at Salsum, Will look at it for long enough to try and memorize it.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't
that's
really
fine.
know how that works. Okay, I'll note
The
down that I have
teleportation
memorized
circle would not be in the library, but you would pass by it, so you could have memorized it. If they don't want anybody teleporting directly into the temple. In that case. But there was like a landing pad outside of the temple with like, probably you might have even seen somebody like just by like hop in. Medea, as you enter into a slightly austere, but at the same time elegantly beautiful architecturally space. A lot of worked marble, carved stone, statues. There's a lot of artistry in this building. Just in the way it's constructed. Different figures here and there, and of course bookshelves, just bookshelves and bookshelves. Scroll walls where there's just cubbies of various just different kinds of scrolls. There is a sort of, you've entered into the building, but there's another sort of barrier where scribes are taking in requests. There's a clear spot that's like, ask for help, like librarian thing, pay for a cleric kind of things. There's just rows and rows and rows of people copying down texts, either through mage hand or by hand or with any other number of means, transferring from one book to another one. Medea, you walk up to a small clerk who very quickly arranges for you to. It was only 1 gold per hour, not the 5 that Will had said.
Okay. Well, you said 5 gold an hour.
I'm pretty sure I said 1. I might.
No, you said.
Be wrong. Maybe it was 5.
That guy was just an idiot.
I'll have to go back.
That's what they do. They put the person at the front that doesn't understand any like enormity. So like you could say the world will end tomorrow, and he'll be like, "Have a nice day. Enjoy the top section of the library."
Yeah.
Either way,
yeah.
You're hooked up with a person. You also notice everybody is wearing. Not everybody. The vast majority of people in here are in plain white robes. Every once in a while, you will see a band of color, almost, kind of tie-dyed on almost, around the edges, working up. Sometimes, more rarely, as you're looking out, you'll see 2 bands. Never more than 3 on anybody currently on the floor.
Yeah.
And they're very distinct, solid colors.
Medea's been to Salsum for I think, right? Like it's, yeah. Would they know of any of the clerics? Would they have met any of the clerics since they've been here a few times?
You can roll good die, bad die.
Could you roll it for me?
Sure.
I have to be in
I'll
another
roll it
room
for
at the
you
moment.
if you like.
Yeah. Yes, if you would. I have to be in another room at the moment because someone's making a phone call. I normally play.
What we got? 11 and 11. Okay. So you wanted to just know somebody who works here, or you specifically want somebody who is like what you're looking for?
Somebody who might know what I'm looking for, like an adjacent field.
Okay. You know somebody, but they're like really just another scribe, like an orderly. But they do work here and they do know people. So
yeah.
Their
I'll talk to them.
Is their name is Calden. Just a human.
Yeah. Medea will approach. I think they've been to this a number of times. They're just a regular clerk.
Yeah, they just kind of functioning. They're like,
Um,
they don't recognize
Paladin-
you because you're wearing a different mask. They're like,
yeah. They'll tap on like.
hello, how
Paladin's
can I
shoulder
help
and
you today?
They're gonna like reach out hand and be like, it's me again. I know I haven't been here in a few years. Apologize. Preoccupied. Almost died. How have you been?
Hmm. Hmm. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with masks. What was your name?
Medea. Look, I know I left on a bad note last time I came here. Can we just
Says Medea. Oh yes, I remember now. Yeah. Yeah, I have. Sure. What is it that you need?
look. I need to find an expert in demonology and somebody in that persuasion who is perhaps a little bit more eager as a cleric to deal with it.
Oh, all right. Well, do you know one person who is of the red band? They don't like me much, but I suppose I'll ask. And he will like turn and write something quickly. And now you notice there's like all these tubes all around, just like seemingly metal tubes.
Yeah.
He sticks it in a small pouch, and just like, and you guys hear as it flies off somewhere.
Before he leaves, he's like, "Do you still have that sleazy thing going on with one of the priest's daughters, Paladin?"
Hey, we don't talk about that.
Still going.
What happens outside the temple stays outside the temple. Everybody
Well, it was
knows
inside
this.
the temple several times. I had to clean it up.
You're on thin ice.
We get kicked out of the center of knowledge.
Yeah. A few moments later, as he is looking at you, you hear him as he reaches in, pulls out a roll, and reads it. Yeah, they have some time for you. Don't worry about the normal fees. I've got it covered in exchange for your silence.
Lydia nods. Thank you. You're always so helpful in these.
And hey, we were in the right section for it, so don't give me any lip.
I'm sure.
He sits down, moves his robes out.
I like to imagine it's not even risque. It's more like they had the wrong books in the wrong section. You know, like violating like clerical conduct and reading together or something.
Everybody else is getting completely the wrong idea of what this conversation is about.
Yeah, no, it's more like they were reading books together and they're like supposed to be some sort of informal cleric.
After a little bit,
different interpretation of that.
you all see an Elcar fellow kind of being down the stairs. They have one large, thick red band of color around the middle of their robes. They'll approach you. They'll say, "Yes, hello. What can I do for you all today? My name is Ophelion, although most people just call me Fel. Really, only me, but you could call me Fel.
I'll call you Fel. I'll be straight to the point. Some of me and my compatriots are having a demon problem.
What are you doing here? Get out! What? We don't want demons in the temple. Yeah.
No, it's more like we're hunting them.
Oh, okay. I understand. What kind?
Hmm. You understand the nature of discretion when hunting demons, right? They have powerful friends, powerful fellows.
I mean, sure. I suppose
Um,
cultists might be interested in killing you if you are interested in killing demons.
well, these particular cultists are, along with the help of demons, from what we've discovered, attempting to begin the process of bringing back shadow dragons.
Kind of like looks at you and is like, this is serious. You are not making this up.
No, I am not. And I figured you might know better than me as to where to find information, what's needed for that ritual, as to how best to stop it.
Against my better judgment, I do believe you. Kind of glances back at all of you. Why don't you all follow me? We'll go to the red section. And you are all led through past like stacks and stacks. You go up a flight of spiral staircases.
While we're walking,
Yes.
his name is Thel, like the god.
Mm-mm. It's Fell. I'm just saying it with an accent.
With an F.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with an F.
All right. I was gonna say, you work in a temple and you have the same name as a god. That's weird.
No. It's Ophelion. But he would like to be called Fell, but doesn't seem to be catching on.
Yeah.
I think will whisper to Kala as we're walking. Do you need me for this? I'd like to look something else up. If it looks like you know this stuff more than me. Medea's got a great relationship with this guy apparently.
No, of course you go. Wait, what do you want to read about?
Medicine.
Curious.
The long-term effects of particular viruses and diseases.
This is just a casual reading pursuit?
Well, all reading's casual unless you're doing it in some kind of competitive format, and Will is like walking away.
All the reading I do is in a competitive format.
I would have thought you'd be better at it than Kala. She vanishes behind a bookshelf.
Go ahead and make an investigation check as you do that. Meanwhile, Ophelion is going to lead you through to an open area that is slightly haunting. There's like artworks, depictions of what a casual observer would assume is the blight. You see this giant black dragon wreathed in flames, like breathing fire. This sort of black smoky flame down on what appears to just be like an army of arrayed men. Various different like paintings and depictions of different kinds of demons, and they're all labeled like this is the common imp kind of thing. This here is what is known as a spined devil. The Ophelion will lead you to a small section. He said, let me look. I know this book is here. Where are you? Here we go. Pops that out, opens that. Yes, this is a book on a treatise on shadow dragons. The process to make them is currently unknown, although it is assumed that some component of the dark goddess herself is necessary in the ritual turning of the shadow dragon. Other ingredients probably include dragon's blood. The ritual was historically done on young dragons or dragon eggs, from what we understand of the process. Vorkarshai is the only known truly successful version or creation of this. So it seems that there's some instability, uncertainty, some quality that makes it not necessarily take. From what we know, other shadow dragons who have appeared throughout history before and since Vorkarshai have been stunted in some way. only able to reach certain sizes, never able to fully grow into ancient dragons, just based off of observation and study what we know from historical sources of these things. That's sort of a general overview with some specifics. You have another question?
I was hoping you might know more about if there's any detection method to finding these rituals, and if there's special ways to sabotage.
Well, killing the creature, the dragon. There's no known reversal process for this sort of thing. It's permanent. It is. It's not a curse. It changes the very being of the creature in question.
Were there any specialized tools used to hunt these things in the past?
As well, there are certainly protections you can take, the normal spells, etc. But they are still dragons. They are susceptible to the same sorts of things that dragons are. Dragon's bane weapons, arrows of dragon slaying, those sorts of things do still work on these creatures. They are, in some, at least half of their person is draconic in origin. The other half, of course, it's become demonic through this process.
They would be fiendish.
They would be fiendish, but they're not susceptible. They are powerful. Even a very young one is a powerful fiend in its own right. They're not susceptible to holy magic easily. It can still hurt them. It's just that they're not particularly weak to such things. They don't have a lot of weaknesses. That's why they're so dangerous.
Was there anything in the past orders used to deal with them? You said some came after. I imagine after the advent of the Blight.
Certainly. Demon hunters have their own methods, which are secretive to them. We have some records of such things, but those are lengthy, involved processes that change the person oftentimes.
Would you? What about orders?
Oh, different
Or
orders have specialized methods. I mean, normal things work on them. They can be killed. They are flesh and blood. In terms of things that they're susceptible to, it is known that they are bathed in a sort of darkness, like a spell like the spell darkness, that kind of covers their body, their form, in interesting ways. Sunlight spells can blunt this and weaken them a bit. That was a very common tactic to bring along spellcaster capable of casting daylight or some other sort of spell like that. But that didn't work on Vorkar Shai. Whether most people, the common sort of accepted explanation is simply that he was too powerful for any of the spellcasters who attempted it. The magic on that dragon was simply insurmountable by any of the mortals who tried.
If you wanted to, you'd need, even for them, extremely powerful.
Oh, it would take the intervention of a god.
In your opinion, what would be the best way to prepare for if we had to deal with something like this?
Well, in my opinion, I would not do such a thing. But I imagine that you are much braver than. They are resistant to magic innately, much like many demons are. Certainly, I would bring along plenty of light. You do not ever want to fight such a thing in a dark environment. That is a horrible idea. They can disappear from sight despite their massive size.
Would you know of any magical items that could illuminate areas? Or
certainly. There are many such things, light spells, what are they called? Glow lamps. Many weapons often shed light of their own accord. Many famous ones, in fact. I mean, if I were to fight such a creature, I would want a sunblade and armor of Parador and all sorts of amazing artifacts. But those things are not easy to come by. For common things, I wouldn't recommend a torch. It's just not enough. You would need, like I said, sunlight. Somebody who could cast sunlight. That would be a good tactic. And again, was used many times during the Blight, or after the Blight and before.
But do you know where we could get resources or organizations that could help us?
Do you know of a shadow dragon? Are you hunting a shadow dragon?
We're dealing with demons that we know are attempting to bring them back and have a critical claim to be able to do so.
Well,
but has
adventurers. I know of one. I heard a story the other day. Heard that he was in town. Have you ever heard the story of Garyon, the unicorn paladin?
I have not.
Oh, he's said to be one of the most powerful adventurers currently active. A paladin of Parador. Man, that was my own terrible bad. A paladin of Parador who started out as a fighter somewhere, I think in Roms or something like that. Supposedly has slain no less than 5 dragons. That is somebody who I would take to kill a dragon.
But do you know of any more larger organizations besides Gary I could seek out? Are there any still active demon hunting organizations, perhaps in Tal'Anfagon?
Most of the demon hunters have become defunct. A lot of them died, honestly. There's none that I'm aware of in Tal'Anfagon. It's a very secretive order. A master will train an apprentice, and they will train an apprentice. And if that line gets broken, well, the demon hunters are very interesting. Actually, they started out originally as just a bunch of clerics and paladins and other kinds of fighters, just people aligned with various deities who banded together to try to hunt demons in the post-blight period. But kind of as they began to specialize, they slowly drifted away from that sort of more holy bent and just really focused on how best to kill demons the most efficient way. Alchemy was a common choice, enhancing their own bodies. Some of them oftentimes made pacts with other creatures and gained abilities that we associate commonly with warlocks. Many of them were very in tune with the sort of ethereal world and had abilities that derived from that. And of course, they were all very competent fighters. They, through a specialized ritual, they gained access to certain kinds of hemiomancy that allowed them to power their weapons and various kinds of things. And as they grew more powerful, so too did those abilities. Creating swords, or not creating swords, but adding elemental damage to their weapons through magical means was very common.
But do you know if there's any way, if you have any guess on how we would contact such a line or order?
Oh.
Any guess or way to start?
You could ask around. I'm sure there are still some, certainly. They're just not as prolific as they used to be. I mean, demons are a huge threat as always, but well, it has been 900, over 900 years since the Blight. Outside of Roms and the core mountains, they're not as common anymore. The foot soldier of the demon army has largely kind of gone away as a threat. We are back to an era of scouts and subterfuge for the vast majority of Imris. Outside of the broken road, of course, if you're a dwarf, you always have to deal with that. The Imgalad they're well known for being demon fighters. There's you're not aware, a dwarven order dedicated to reclaiming the lost dwarven holds. They've been operating for a century, or for over a millennia. Yeah, well over a millennia. I think 2 now.
So if we were to seek out people who might have weapons, specialized tools in the future, help, that might be a place to start.
If these cultists were operating in the core mountains, the Imgalad would certainly be willing to help you if you had a credible direction to go towards.
We do, right? Galmador is in the core mountains? Out of character.
Galmador is in the core mountains. You're thinking of Harkantor, which is also in the core mountains.
Yeah,
and
okay.
probably the Imgalad is aware of.
Yeah, okay. Medea will...
Kala, as you're asking all these questions, say, I actually know a demon hunter. It was the person who I suggested earlier could help us into Harkantor. I've only met him once, but,
Perhaps the Imgalad dwarves could provide transportation. We needed it as well, or additional security, men. Thank you. That's been highly helpful. I will seek out Garyon. See if his prowess...
If you do, get his autograph for me, please.
I will do my best. I promise. And they reach out a hand. Thank you. You've been
handshake. Oh, this is very nice. This is a good day for Fel.
May Alaman grant you insight.
You as well. I never got your name.
Medea.
Medea. I will remember this.
Cleric's Valumena.
He'll say, why don't I... you have gotten the information that you're seeking, but I will give you some rundowns on shadow dragons and other such things. And in doing so, he will give you basically some more statistical mechanical information. They're resistant to necrotic damage. Particularly powerful ones are immune. They're immune to fire damage, unless they're really young. They have blind sight, obviously dark vision. When they're in dim light or darkness, they have resistance to all damage that isn't force, psychic, or radiant.
Okay.
They can hide whenever they're in dim light or darkness. Even if they're in front of you, they can still hide. Weaker ones have sunlight sensitivity. Stronger ones don't. And their shadow breath weapon does necrotic damage.
Okay.
If you hit 0 hit points from this, you die, and an undead shadow rises from your corpse.
Would I know? Could he tell me if Death Ward would protect from this?
Yes, because Death Ward prevents you. Yeah, I would say yes.
Death Ward has the clause that says if an instant death effect takes place, it just drops the ward, but it prevents it.
Yeah, I would say yes, it would.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I will note this down. And then you said the daylight spell is enough to break that. Can create vulnerabilities or issues for them.
Yeah, it will. Well, it will get rid of the ability. You'll be able to damage them normally from stuff that isn't force, psychic, or radiant. It'll take away the stealth ability, and for some of them, have sunlight sensitivity, so they would have disadvantage on attack rolls.
Yeah, that's really useful to have. Because out of the game, I think that's definitely, but in character, that's And then can I ask him as well, like, just from there, like, get in at basic stuff about like demon stuff, so in the future we know, like, here's a basic set of common resistances for the demons you might encounter.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of demons have fire resistance, but not all of them. A lot of demons have poison resistance.
I'll note this down as well in the future if it comes up. Like, hey, would we know this? Would we know about X?
Yeah, he'll give you a rundown, and I will say, like, in the future, we will use this rundown as, like, Medea can get, not advantage, but I'll make the checks easier to know stuff about demons when it comes up.
Okay. Yep.
You're spending all this time to get a primer from Fel.
and I will spend the rest of the day praying to Alveron in the temple.
Excellent. Will, in the meantime, you get lost in the stacks for hours.
Yeah,
You do find the medical section, and there are like people willing to help you. You just don't find anything that's particularly useful at the moment.
Yeah, and I think Will gives up earlier than probably she would if she'd found anything interesting, and we'll just go wander around outside looking for if anybody looking for somewhere to book passage down the river.
Yeah, it's not super hard. You pretty quickly are able to find somebody who will transport you to Tal'Anfagon at 3 gold a person.
Oh yeah, I want.
I can't afford that. Rude.
You said they waived the cost, right, for the priest? If somebody can chip in,
Phil's just helping you out of the kindness of his heart.
if somebody can chip in 6 gold, I can pay for everybody else. Or are we sneaking
will
Alveron?
pay for this?
Oh, okay.
That's a good question. Are you sneaking Alveron aboard?
Yeah.
No, now that we've changed Alveron's appearance and we successfully snuck out of Porson to Will's idea, it's just like we'll just pay. We're going to be going down the river as quickly as anybody can go down the river. Like they're all the same speed barges. Like,
yeah. Sure. You take like a breather. I was talking really fast there.
Yes. But yeah, Will eventually re-find everybody and let them know that they've booked something for traveling overnight is probably Will's preference for leaving here, since she didn't know how long everybody was going to take.
Yeah, I think it takes at least a few hours for Fel to run through all this information. Did anybody else because I'm imagining that Uba and Sulveran are probably not going to be super attentive during Fel's rambling. Did you guys want to do anything else while you were in the library?
I think Uba's honestly probably just wandering around, maybe chit-chatting with people, but I highly doubt that they would have picked up a book at all.
Maybe a picture book?
Are there any books for
Maybe a picture book, yeah.
Any dragon slaying picture books?
You put a hand up, Sean. What were you gonna say? You're muted.
You're muted.
He was muted, but I heard that. Oh fuck!
Oh right. How long have I been muted for? Because I stood up 30 minutes ago.
A while? I don't know.
Oh,
Whole time.
I was
saying
doing at least some portion of that. Damn it. Well, that makes a lot more sense. Y'all are a lot less rude than I thought you were.
Sorry, I wasn't looking at the things.
Somebody could have noticed, I guess.
That is completely my fault. I apologize.
It's okay.
Poor Sean.
A little bit of water. I was sitting here I've been trying to talk. It was like that Loki gif, I have been falling for 30 minutes, except I've just been trying to get a goddamn word in.
I was also
very
talking,
funny.
again, very quickly.
My only thing is Alveron would have stopped by the temple to Semillus and exchanged his vial of salt water, his vial of ocean water, for one of the temple vials in kind of that, I don't know, holy water exchange program. Essentially, this is seawater that I've carried with me for some time, and it holds significance. I give it back to the church. The church gives me this vial of seawater, and now it's my turn to carry it until the next way station.
Yeah, roll a... 1, 3, 5. Roll a d6. How many seas are there in Imris? There are 6. That doesn't ring as well. The 6 seas.
This is your world. Well, actually, you asked that as a question.
6 C's rhymes better than 7 C's. You've just heard 7 C's a lot.
It just sounds weird, yeah. Up on the 6 C's.
Well, I mean, there's probably a 7th C somewhere. We just don't know about it.
It's not a name. 2. Fuck, now I have to figure out what the order should be.
I was going to ask, do you have a planned order for this?
I'm going to say counterclockwise from the bottom. So this is going to be from the Dorantian Sea, the sea around Rams. So you go in, you're greeted, do all the rituals, and you say, I have some seawater that I've been carrying with me. I would like to switch it out. I would like to, and I think this is often symbolic of like entering a new phase in your life, something like that for the people who do this, and you are granted a new vial of seawater. Yes.
All right. I was just Sean, did you get what you wanted? Okay.
Totally good.
I think Sulveran, when he saw those portraits, would have probably gone looking for the formal name of the demon that he has seen.
Make an investigation check.
All right.
Yeah, if you ask Medea, Medea will help as well. I can give you advantage.
I feel like you wouldn't ask Medea.
He's not asking. He's just. And you said investigation, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'm just rolling the flat d20 until I can get my character sheet to load. And I can't see my investigation right now because my character sheet's being.
Oh, +0. That's convenient.
Yeah, that is convenient.
You look around for some time, but this doesn't appear to be a particularly common kind of demon.
All right. I think in that case, he'll probably follow that up with searching for Will, and if he doesn't find Will, he will head to that Temple of Mordain.
I think Will is probably wandering around pretty quickly.
Yeah, although it's a big place and you're in very different sections.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna roll a d20 real quick.
I like the idea that everybody except for Medea is like wandering around aimlessly.
Well, that's a 1, so you do not find Will.
Yeah.
Will is dead.
You find another person named Will who looks suspiciously like Will.
But is legally distinct from Will.
It's Will, but with a second L.
Yep.
Yes.
You actually find Owen Wilson himself.
Wow.
Oh, hey, wow. I'm at a library. Wow.
Yeah, you're at my temple.
All right.
You can't reveal that Will is based on Owen Wilson this early.
I mean, based on is a stretch.
That's how I will always consider it.
So at some point you exit the library and seek out the Temple of Mordain here. That's also Temple.
I'm really picturing like Medea just continuing to talk with this fell, and Sulveran and Uba both like, we're going now, and like, no stop. Medea and Fell are just going still.
Yeah, there's like an excited nerd vibrating in the corner while the others are like, all right, let's get out of here.
They talk for like 6 straight hours, and then Medea goes to a private prayer chamber to just like swear obscenities to Alamein in a prayer.
Weird.
But yeah, Medea, Sulveran, you find the Temple to Mordain. It's like a smaller chapel. There are some books here as well that you could read that are more specific to the priesthood. But you are welcomed. You are acknowledged as a devotee. There's also a graveyard here. And this is something I haven't mentioned. In Imris proper, most graveyards to Mordain have a sort of oh shoot, I'm forgetting the name now. Not Tomb of the Lost Soldier. What is, Sean? Maybe you know this. I feel
Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Unknown Soldier. Yes, I've been to both of them, or 2 of them, anyways. I should know.
Did you literally just go, "Hey, wait, this army douchebag might know this"?
I did. I'm like, Sean would know this. I think be the most likely of all the people in this voice chat.
Okay, I'm just glad that I
like internal history checks.
And I frankly say, I'm just really glad that I did actually know what you were.
I don't know how I've forgotten because I've been to the Russian one in Moscow and
wow,
one in America. Anyways, there's something like that, but just for everybody, like the Tomb of the Unknown Fallen, something like I'll think of a better name. The Fallen Unknown. That's just like if you've lost somebody and you don't have another place to grieve, you can come to a Temple of Mordain, and this is a grave for them. It's a grave for everybody.
As far as I can tell, the one in Moscow is also Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It has the exact
they have the same name.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I
The
wish I
changing
had
of the
made
guard
Will a
is very
ghost.
cool.
If I'd made Will a ghost, Sulveran would see Will's full name on here and not know. Never come up. Will's like a secret revenant.
Why
Well,
would Will
this
be a ghost?
You know.
not. It's
Will has
Dungeons and
unfinished
Dragons.
business. Yeah. I would say Will
Edgy.
being a ghost is as normal as Medea being a moss-haired person.
I mean, we have a rule book, so
Yeah, I think that's where it's almost like my backstory. I think that's where
I mentioned it for a reason.
I think that's where Sulveran occupies his time, to the extent of he would probably kind of wander around there meditatively and very much lose track of time, in keeping with his having lost track of everything while he was in this random place full of different people and their religions.
This ends with Will and Calla having to like Sherlock Holmes their way through finding the rest of the party.
Yeah. You spend some hours just gathering everybody. It's like when you go to like the mall or somewhere, you're on a trip and everyone's like, all right, we're going to go. Let's go do this thing. And you kind of just start to break away without ever having made plans of where to meet back up. But eventually you all find each other.
Medea just assumed they'd stay there with Fel.
Yeah. Where did we go?
Where's everyone? Like they turn around and they're like, "We leave."
Medea
for
just
the record,
assumed that
Sulveran tried to
everybody
kill
would.
you.
Yeah, Medea just assumed everybody would listen to Medea and Thel talk for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like a symposium.
Did you want to leave that night? Because there are sort of
Yeah.
there are ships that leave at night, kind of like you take the 3 days up, you spend a day there, you take the 3 days down.
Do they allow checking books out?
No. You can buy books for common books, but they don't really lend books for the most part.
Do they have
They
language?
allow the other way of checking books out.
Checking books in? Wait, what is the
No.
Healing
Where you
books?
open the book and you cut all the pages out.
God,
and then you
please
put the
don't do
books
that
finally
again.
No.
Jack one time in game, as a character, like just was like, I want to look for some information in the library. Went to the library, cut the relevant pages out, and left.
No. It was 50 gold to check that book out, and they allowed checking the book out. But like 50 gold is extortionate, and I'm not paying that. And I just needed those pages.
It would be reasonable for a revenant of the book to hunt you down for doing such a thing.
I as Andrew, was angered.
A paladin
There were
of
2 players that were
Alamein
really
should-
upset.
A paladin of Alamein should smite you just for doing that.
Though it was an in-character action. So you guys reboard the ship. Not reboard the ship, but board the next ship heading downriver. And spend a couple days heading downriver. It's pretty swift because you're going downstream and aided by oars and stuff. They try to make it a quick journey. Pilgrims. And the boat doesn't really stop.
I have more
It's like
sendings to do.
Okay, we'll do the sendings. I'll finish my description. The boat doesn't really, the ship doesn't really stop. It's like direct to Tal'Anfagon. Will, what do you send?
I sent back to Jacoby. Talk to guy who was ransomed. I'm fine. Weird being on land. How's my ship?
You say
And,
talked to guy who was ransomed? Or,
No,
like
talk
as a
to.
question?
I tell him to talk to it.
Got it. Talk to
Like,
guy.
you talk to guy who was ransomed. I'm delegating to him to do the hard work that I
Hard
can't
work.
do. What with being across the entire continent.
Okay. He says, will do. Give me a couple days. Glad to be at sea. the ships well, hoping you return to us eventually.
Oh,
Oh,
that's sweet.
I think Will's plan is to do that, so sure. And then I will,
Okay.
I guess, use my second third level spell slot to send one to Aracondis and be like, we are in Salsum. Like, we just did some knowledge searching. Medea talked for 6 hours to a priest. Look after Paladin.
In my younger days, I thought about storming that place and taking all of the knowledge, but in my wiser adult years, I realized that is folly. Pelagon as well. If you need anything, just let me know.
Great. And then I'd probably do you sending other days, but not for anything important.
Yeah, you can message me about those if you would like
Sure.
to. If it's relevant.
It's not.
Eventually, you come up upon the city of Tal'Anfagon. As I load up my Tal'Anfagon playlist, but just for the players. Nobody else can.
I will be practicing Weaver's tools on the way trip there, and if Sulveran wants to help.
I'm going to start teaching Uber how to tell stories properly.
I'm sure Uba will hate being taught, but will love the end result.
Oh, I wanted to ask, can I also get a book from Salsum Temple? Before I left, I wanted to buy one.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Do they have a book that teaches you how to speak Infernal or Abyssal? For translation purposes.
Yes. They don't sell those. They do
Can I
have
ask
them.
if-
They don't sell those.
Can I ask if Fel knows a way I could get one?
Oh, yeah. Well, I do speak Infernal because it just points at his robes. I have an old primer I could lend to you.
Okay.
It's not comprehensive, but it'll get you started. And of course, if you just need to learn how to read the runes, it's very helpful for that reason. And you can always, then copy them down. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I figure that'll be.
You have a primer of it. You guys, as you're heading down the river, you can see the city in the distance. In particular, the Ruby Palace kind of shimmers slightly in the sun. It's around noonday by the time you're kind of getting in. You can see the two bridges, as I am going to now transfer us to the Tal'Anfagon map. The oldest map I've ever made, except for the original Imris hex map. I'm just visible on screen.
Man, you must have been excited for us to get here. It's almost like you planned for it.
Oh yeah, I've had this map and I've used this map a lot. It is slightly crappy, and if I had the time and energy to redo it, I would. But I'm still proud of it as the first map that I ever made for a city or anything like that.
I think it's delightful.
You can see the two main bridges kind of towering overhead as you're in the city walls, the various farms, and the outskirts. Again, the Ruby Palace kind of stands out because it's on a rise compared to the rest of the city. You also see 5 towers off in the distance, different colored brickwork kind of rising up out of the sky. The city is kind of bisected by the river. On the other half, probably some of you, like Will, Medea, certainly would know, is the Bazaar of Tal'Anfagon, a winding maze of stalls and shops that changes daily, as well as various other things that the city has to offer.
What does the city smell like?
It smells of the ocean air, spiced meats, the sort of dry, like deserty, like hot smell. I don't even know how to describe that, and I don't think anybody who hasn't experienced like hot desert smell can accurately understand what I'm saying at this moment. And it also just it smells like spices and silks and all kinds of other things. It's kind of like just a wash with smell. In fact, it's very strongly characterized by that. As you start to disembark, almost immediately you are assaulted by people trying to sell you things. Oh, hello, can I get you a nice shiny dagger? You look like the sort of person who would enjoy such a thing, sir. To Alveron. It's like, this was made by dwarven smiths, I assure you, sir. The finest thing ever. And Medea, you're like, oh, it's a very lovely mask, but I can get you one that is even prettier. How would you like to look the best that you've ever looked in your entire life? Will, of course, you are being told that, oh, that's a very fine cloak, very fine cloak. I have very similar fabrics, and I could make you something. You seem to have an oversized sort of favor. I can do very many things like this. You know, you're in Tal'Anfagon. You all should get decked out in red. It is, after all, the color of the city. And of course, there are just people yelling at you in the background. Kolash! Get Kolash here! Come on, get your Kolash. You know you want it.
You do not, in fact.
Well, some people do. You see, all kinds of different merchants, people carrying stuff around. The bridges at this moment are pretty full as it is noon. Everybody's busy and active. And you can see on the horizon a bit of a dust storm, just a wall of it's not very thick, but this sort of almost like a red mist on the horizon. And you can tell that the city is about to get hit by some sand. As you disembark and get ready to go, Calla will say, all right, so Melfindian lives pretty close to the bazaar. Is there anything that we want to do before going there? I know some people talked about shopping, but we'd always do that after.
Probably a good idea. Sorry, go ahead, Marisa.
Oh, I was just gonna say Uba's gonna sell their old armor now that they have their new armor that Will got them that has a tail hole cut in it now.
Kobold armor. I think I could sell this to a collector of some sort. How much do you want for it? I'll give you.
I'm trying to think.
Will is
4 gold.
I think Will is watching this this exchange.
I think Uba I think would probably need a persuasion check, but they're going to try and sell it off for quite a bit more than it's worth. I think it's worth like 10, so they're going to maybe say that it was the armor that protected a great adventurer that has slayed demons, and they're going to weave this tale about how it was some sort of adventurer's armor, even though it's just like generic leather armor.
Okay, roll a persuasion check
Okay.
at disadvantage.
At disadvantage? Okay, let me roll a second.
Because you're in Tal'Anfagon. Oh, I say. Oh, that's very interesting. I've heard very similar stories about other kinds of armor. 3 gold. It was 4, I know, but now I'm offering you 3. I think it's less special having heard the story.
Little loss.
Uba hands over the armor, but they're like cursing out the shopkeeper under their breath.
Yes, thank you for your business. Here you go, and I'll hand you 3 gold.
Oh, God.
Oh, I have a sword that was once wielded by the greatest demon slayer ever. Would you like to buy it? A very modest 100 gold pieces.
Uba, I don't know if they have flipping off in Imris, but gives some sort of obscene hand gesture and leaves.
Okay.
Andrew, do they have a specific obscene gesture?
Yeah, I'm like thinking what that might be. What can I do with
every
my
culture
you
has a
do,
different
like,
one, right?
Yeah,
Like our
Like-
dwarf ones, like you make elf ears on your head.
a little racist.
The kobold one is just like showing all the claws.
Yeah, Uba will do whatever that is and just leave without buying anything.
I think it's like maybe like a back palm motion. You're just like Like just like slap the back of your hand
I like
kind of
it.
thing.
Very Italian of you, Andrew.
Yes.
Very Italian.
That feels aggressive enough to be like insulting. You all leave and you kind of go around the bazaar. You have to walk around it, but you can't see, like, there's just tons of stalls like here and there, and like there's a throughout most of the city, more so than I think other cities you've been to, there's a low din of chatter. Like people seem to like to talk a lot here, and they're just like going back and forth about various different things. A lot of the talk is in Elcar, so which is a form of Elvish. So if you know Elvish, you can kind of understand the vast majority of it. But if you don't, you're kind of just listening to the sounds of people just talking in a foreign language. It's very strange. If you've never had that experience, it's very strange.
Is there an analogous language to Elcar that it sort of sounds like to us?
Like a real world equivalent, or
Yeah, like it has that same sort of like mouth speech, like same sort of emulation.
I would have to think about that. Like
Okay.
I don't know. Probably, yeah, there probably is.
I feel like it used to be Arabic, right?
Yeah, something like that. Some like I do. The accent for this place is like vaguely something Arabic, Eastern European,
Yeah.
weird,
Fez
Turkish.
voice was
something.
Fez voice was a Ferizol Iloridoran.
Original,
And then you just
yeah.
you move from Iloridoran into whatever you're saying, and you're just there. It's very good. Will doesn't have that benefit, like a jerk.
So you cross around till you eventually come up to a what seems to you all to be a fairly modest looking tower. It's a square topped with like not bastions but not like arrow slits. There's a particular word that I can't think of. It's like flat and then there's squares. People know what I'm talking about. You come up to it, and as you do so, there's actually a number of guards outside. Anybody who wants to can make me a history check.
I will.
As you come up and see these people.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, they're all Elcar, but you don't immediately recognize the armor.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to you to be like professional soldiers, perhaps like city guardsmen, but you've never seen the exact garb that they're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Will. They clearly are like standardized uniforms, but you are not aware of what the uniforms are for or what they signify.
Well,
Other than that, it's like for the city somehow or something like that.
As we get closer to this tower, Sulveran kind of slightly calms down, but he was definitely walking through this massive crowded city with like a hand on his alpenstock, shoulders taut, just like he has never been in a city this large, and it is extremely obvious.
As you approach, Kala's like, this is strange. Kind of looks to you. I don't know what the Royal Guard is doing here. So we'll try to enter. So she will begin to approach what seems to be kind of the leader of these groups, of this group. And they have a conversation in Elcar. Does anybody speak Elvish? No, Medea does not. Will does not.
Oh, I'm surprised Will doesn't.
Doesn't not.
Will gets 3 languages. Like, you don't get extra language choices.
No, none of you understand what she's saying.
I am curious though.
Which is surprising to me.
Since the Gathite are descended from elves, is there any similarity in their language?
Very little. It's a very, very old split. Like very, very old.
Does it look like the conversation is going well?
Yeah, so you guys are kind of talking along. Kala is like kind of inquisitive and like, trying to be casual about it. Like, oh, probably saying something. Oh, look, what's going on here? You know, can we not get in? Or probably saying something like, "I know Melfindian," something like that. And the guard is brief and brusque, and you all, despite not knowing Elcar, get the impression that he is saying, "No, you can't come in. You have to wait." She turns back and she shrugs. I don't know what's going on. Pretty soon after this happens, the door will open, and you all see probably one of the most attractive people you've ever seen in your lives. Certainly the most attractive Elcar most of you have ever seen in your lives. And she is decked out. She's got armor, a sword. This is very clearly an important person. Just like the quality of their arms and armor is of the highest. She like kind of glances at you and like with a interesting, and then looks to the guards and says some words in Elcar. They begin to leave. Will anybody who wants to can make me an insight check? Yes, yeah, I think this is insight.
Could I do history for this person?
Sure, that's fine.
Can I also do?
Yeah,
history?
you could do history. Yeah, now that you've
Actually,
seen them
could
as
I-
well.
Can I pull Will aside and talk to Will about it for a second and give them advantage?
Nope.
No, Will is not interested. Where everybody else sees the most attractive person, Will's like, "That's a human." I don't
Holy
see
shit, I
attraction that
rolled.
way. That's an Elcar.
You guys are rolling terrible on
just
this,
the
which is hilarious to me. All right, Sulveran. This is very clearly an important person. You catch the even though you don't understand the language very well, you catch the name Thezriel. What is it? Specifically, what seems to be a title, Sethir and Thezriel, which seems to be their name.
I think after having
I do not know what you
seen
mean.
how
That's fine.
grouchy Medea got when information was withheld from them previously, he does know enough to like lean in and just mutter, "Dear Thezrael," to them.
Would I know more?
You can re-roll your history checks, both you and Will, if you would like.
Okay.
There
Much
you
better.
go. That makes sense.
No.
This is
It's
just not Will's bag. Like,
Yeah.
not that much about that.
This person's not on the ship.
Medea, this is ostensibly the crown princess of the Suthanate. It is the sister of the Suthan, who 24 is pretty good. Was kind of expected to take over, but didn't for a variety of reasons that you kind of is politics that you don't really understand or know that much about, even with the 24. Mm-hmm. But they are very popular and well known in the city. People do like them quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think as she's leaving, she'll kind of look at you and say, I have a feeling that, in common, I have a feeling that I'll be seeing you again. Don't know why. Turns and leaves.
Take a bow.
Do you think if I wandered around telling people that I thought I'd see them again, it would make them feel good?
Probably not, but seeing as they are the crown princess, I don't think it's that odd.
Woof.
Will is not unimpressed, but not that visibly impressed. Does that mean we can go into the tower now, Kala?
Yes, I do believe that is what that means.
She has more money than God, right?
I mean,
Surely
who can measure the wealth of a god? More money than I think any of us have ever seen or have aspirations to see, perhaps.
Rich.
Although they are only the Sethier, so the kingdom's treasury is not under their direct control.
Mhm.
Certainly a very wealthy individual, but I'm told fairly generous.
Perhaps in the future we can seek out her aid.
Yes, what was that? A bit thinks she'll see us again. It's a very strange thing to say to a bunch of people you don't know.
People who talk to wizards have strange things to say.
Well, they are a princess. Sethier, same thing. All right, Melfindian. Okay. Right, let's go. Shake their head
You look visibly like
a little
Shake.
rattled, like a little rattled.
Does she not like, does it look like she's not looking forward to talking to Melfindian?
Make an insight check.
Like
Anybody
this-
wants to.
Because the vibe that gave me
Pretty
was like,
easy check
she's-
as well, but
Will
Okay.
knows Calla pretty well, right? Can I
Yeah.
have advantage on this?
sure,
roll?
I'll give you advantage. You've talked to them a lot at this point.
I'm just gonna get rid of these bad rolls.
All right.
Okay.
Break out.
How dare you?
16. Okay.
Charlie, you're dying.
Yeah, I mean, you all get the sense. It's like it's more of the opposite thing. It's like, oh wow, we're gonna meet Melfindian. Like, oh god, I've done this once before, but it's still nerve wracking. I need to like steady myself.
this guy could just wish us out of reality.
This is a very important person. Game face, Calla, game face. That's probably what you get from going on set her head. Uba specifically with that 20 that's what you get.
Don't worry, Calla. At least he won't be in the middle of being trapped by demons and being turned into Shadow Melfindian. And we'll like start walking forward to prompt Calla to take the lead.
Jesus Christ, Will.
But I will also give bardic inspiration to Calla.
That's
All right, and she will knock, and as she does so, what anybody wants to make an Arcana check, but it's clearly like a illusory figure of some sort. 17. That's high enough that I have to look up the name of the spell.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for rolling a 7.
Oh.
style and image.
No,
It's
this is
magic
a
eye.
programmed illusion.
Oh,
Oh.
gross.
Yeah.
Basically, the way, it's not that complex of a spell. It's like if something specific happens, the illusion will go off and then reset. And then, after a bit of time, if the same conditions happen again, it will go off again. And it's basically a permanent thing unless you dismiss it or get rid of it. You see a wizened Elcar, like noticeably old, which is very strange for any kind of elf like this. Fairly long white hair, just a bit of a white beard, very piercing eyes, and wearing fairly simple robes, like not even the kind of thing that you wouldn't expect to see just like some guy on the street being wearing, and also a head wrap, although their hair kind of flows out underneath it. They'll say, "You have reached the home of Melfindian. What can I do for you?" Says, I am Calla, the apprentice of Torlis the Sage. We have met once before and would like to speak with you today. The programmed illusion, that's from it says, "You may enter. Please enjoy your stay at Melfindian Tower." The door opens, and you are greeted to an impossibly long, for the sides of the building, entryway. A carpet rolls out. Not rolls out, but is unfurled down that way. You kind of enter into a fairly spacious place. but it's not quite as ostentatious as you might think for like how important this person has been played up to you as. It's nice, but not like crazy. There's also just a lot of stuff here, like various kinds of rugs, like simple kinds of decorations. Up on a banister, you see Melfindian. Kind of looks down at all of you, kind of knocking on the banister. Says, welcome. What is it that you have sought out me for? And that's where we're going to end today's session.
Hey.
Give you time. Think. All right. So, as always, I hope everybody enjoyed the game, both viewers and players alike, despite some shenanigans at the beginning, and also some throughout the session. It was a fun one for me. I like these, not in between, but more down-timey sessions where like we're kind of just going through some stuff, and this is a very good group for them as well. Really enjoyed playing with all you guys. Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. As always, we will see you next week.